Good evening, President Villescaz. It is 5:30 and we are recording.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. I call the meeting of the San Juan Unified School District Board of Education to order. There's one closed session item on tonight's agenda, collective bargaining matters. Discussion with negotiator Jim Shoemake, Assistant Superintendent, Schools and Labor Relations regarding CSEA Chapter 127, General Operations Support, chauffeurs, Teamsters Local Number 150, transportation supervisors, teachers, and certificated supervisory units, and regarding non-represented groups, management, and confidential units. Mr. Allen, will you please give instructions to those in attendance via Zoom on how they can raise their hand if they have a comment on the closed session agenda item?
I would be happy to, President Villescaz. If you've joined us on the Zoom meeting tonight and would like to offer a comment regarding the closed session item, you may do so at this time by clicking the raise hand button found at the bottom of your screen, or if you've dialed into the Zoom call today, by pressing *9 on your telephone keypad.
Mr. Allen, do we have any public comments for the closed session agenda item?
We have no raised hands or submitted comments at this time.
Okay, we have no visitor comments for the closed session items. We will now move into closed session and we will return to open session at 6:30.
The board has adjourned to closed session. They will expect to return to public session at approximately 6:30 p.m. this evening. You are welcome to stay on the Zoom until then, or you may rejoin us at that time. Thank you. President Villescaz, can you hear me in the boardroom?
I can. Can you hear me?
We can. We are at 6:31 and recording has resumed.
Thank you, sir. I call the meeting of the San Juan Unified School District Board of Education back to order. As you may notice, the board is meeting in the boardroom at the district office, safely physically distanced and aligned with state and local health guidelines. Public attendance is provided via the Zoom platform, as well as a live stream on the district's YouTube channel. This meeting is being audio and video recorded, and the recording may capture sounds and images of those attending this meeting. The recording will be posted on the district website. We thank you for joining us and ask for your patience as we use this format in an effort to maximize access and participation during this time of social distancing and other restrictions. At this time, please stand for the virtual presentation of the colors by the Casa Roble Fundamental High School Air Force Junior ROTC.
Color guard, attention, hut, port, arms, forward, arch. Color guard, halt, ready, haste. Ready, haste, present, arms. Ladies and gentlemen, may you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, arms. Ready, haste, forward, march.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Paula Viescas, Board President. To my right is Dr. Michael McKibben, Board Vice President, and to his right is Ms. Pam Costa, Board Member. To my left is Ms. Zima Creason, Board Clerk, and to her left is Mr. Saul Hernandez, Board Member. Superintendent Kern is also in attendance. Before we begin, I'd like to review the two methods that are available to submit public comment for tonight's meeting. The first option is to submit a public comment online using the comment form located on the district website at www.sanjuan.edu/board-meeting. If you wish to submit a public comment on more than one agenda item, please submit a separate form for each item on which you are commenting. Comments received by 6 p.m. today have already been shared with all board members. Comments received after 6 p.m. tonight, including those submitted during the meeting, may be read during the meeting depending on time restrictions. Comments may only be submitted on an agenda item up until the time that the agenda item has been discussed. The second option is on the Zoom platform where you may use the raise your hand function. When you are called on, you may share a comment via audio during the meeting. Please note that all public comments are subject to a 2-minute limit or approximately 1,500 characters. With that, we are now at item D, approval of the minutes, and there are 2 sets of minutes for approval this evening. Are there any corrections to the minutes for the regular meeting on February 23rd? Is there a motion for them to approve the minutes for February 23rd? It's been moved by Mr. Hernandez. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Dr. McKibben. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, that was unanimous. Are there any corrections to the minutes for the special meeting on February 26th? Is there a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting from February 26th?
So moved. I'll second.
It's been moved by Ms. Costa and seconded by Ms. Creason. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. That was unanimous. With that, we are at item E1, and we have one recognition tonight for National School Social Worker Week. Dr. Calvin, please begin when you are ready.
Good evening, President Viasquez, members of the board, Superintendent Kern, and Ms. Cunningham. The superintendent is recommending that the board adopt resolution number A401, proclaiming the week of March 7th through March 13th as National School Social Work Week. Here to accept the resolution is school social worker Haley Myers.
Hi, thank you. President Vasquez, members of the board, Superintendent Kern, and Ms. Cunningham, thank you for recognizing us and for the invitation to speak on behalf of the incredible social workers within our district, some of who are here tonight. So if you're here and you're a school social worker, raise your hand, let us know who you are. We are so honored to be able to work alongside admin and staff to help light the way for students to access their social, emotional, and academic education, and to guide families to help find resources, safety, and hope. In light of this past year, we know social workers are now more than ever essential to the community well-being, and there's so much more work to be done. We want to thank our families and our staff members for allowing us to advocate for them. And now, in true social worker fashion, we will adjust and remain ready to keep going strong for our students, however that may look. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Myers, and to your colleagues who join us for the evening. Do any board members have any comments or questions at this time? Ms. Creason.
I just want to express appreciation for all that you do every day, but especially in the
You're on, there we go.
new system, and I haven't been here in a while. I apologize. I just want to express appreciation for all that you do every day, but especially in this time for our kids. It's greatly appreciated. There's a very special spot in my heart for social workers, and we sure are lucky to have you, and so are the kids.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Creason. On behalf of the board, I also just want to echo thanks to each of you. We're entering at another phase of transition, but extraordinarily thankful and couldn't be possible without you all. So thank you very, very much for all that you do for our students and for our community. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number A401 proclaiming the week of March 7th through 13th as National School Social Work Week?
So moved.
It's been moved by Dr. McKibben. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Ms. Creason. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. Thank you very much. And I'll ask for just a round of applause for our social workers. Thank you. Before I move to item E2, I just want to note for our virtual viewers that in front of each of us, we have a screen. And so it might look like we're looking down or perhaps not making eye contact directly with the one camera view, but please know that we are excited to be here and we are certainly listening, and we're also following along on our screens. That part might not be visible, so it just might be a little bit awkward in this new setting, and appreciate your patience and consideration. With that, we are at item E2, High School Student Council reports, and tonight we will hear from student representatives from El Sereno High School and Meraki High School. Welcome, and we will begin with Fiona Fikes from El Sereno. Fiona, if you're with us, please begin when you are ready.
Hi. Good evening, President Viescas, members of the board, Superintendent Kern, and Ms. Cunningham. My name is Fiona Fikes. I am a junior from El Sereno High School. Thank you for inviting me tonight to talk about our school. I am new to El Sereno this year, having just started this fall, and it has already made a great impact on my life. Last summer of 2020, I realized that I didn't want to attend my traditional school because in the spring I struggled with distance learning at that school. I did not like having to report to 4 different teachers every day, especially since I had confidence that I could learn things on my own. I've always been an independent learner, so when I found El Sereno, the idea of meeting with one teacher once a week was really appealing to me, and I wanted to give it a try. When I first started at El Sereno, it was a little hectic because of the number of new students that joined at the time, but after a couple of weeks, I had all of my classes and started to get the routine, which is different from traditional school. Meeting with a teacher for the first time was a little intimidating, but my teacher was welcoming. I realized she was there to help me. I really enjoyed the ability to manage my own time and create a schedule that met my needs. Even though I have 4 classes at a time, my teacher and I were able to set a schedule that did not seem stressful. When I had classes like Spanish and math, I was able to get extra support from different teachers. I find it hard to learn Spanish through a computer, so I have a Spanish teacher that I am able to meet with when I need help. In math classes, I met with my math teacher and found the math department's tutoring lab very helpful. I was able to join whenever I was struggling. Having a master teacher has also been very beneficial. Not only has she helped me manage a good schedule for school, but she has also helped me prepare for college by making sure I had my A through G requirements and supporting me in the application process. She made graduating early and applying to college a stress-free experience. Attending El Sereno has been the best decision I have made. I would not have been able to accomplish my goals by attending a traditional school. In fact, I have even decided to transfer permanently and receive my diploma from El Sereno this spring. Thanks to El Sereno, I have been able to acquire a job, graduate early, and I will be able to attend college this fall. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation and for joining us this evening. Do any board members have questions or comments for Fiona? Okay, Dr. McKibben?
Fiona, what college is it that you're working with?
Sacramento State.
Thank you.
You're on mute, Dr. McKibben.
And what is your major?
I'm planning on majoring in psychology.
Okay, very good. Thanks.
Ms. Creason?
Thank you so much for your report. And it's just wonderful to hear students that are using our non-traditional modalities of learning and hearing that it's working for them. I think it's really important that, there's very different learning styles and different shoes fit for different people. So it's just wonderful to hear that, that it's working for you.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just want to congratulate you on your upcoming graduation. Just wishing you all the best.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I want to offer my congratulations as well, and also just reflect something that kind of resonated to me in your remarks, and that's that you learned how to manage your time to meet your needs. And as a professional adult who still struggles with that, I just really want to commend you for doing
Thank you.
life skill that I think will suit you for years to come. So
Yeah,
thank you for being
definitely.
an inspiration in many ways, but in that regard in particular. Thank you very much for your time. And I wish
course.
you all the luck as well at Sac State. Congratulations. And
Thank
I'll
you so much.
colleagues for a quick round of applause, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Next up, we will hear from Genevieve Davison from Meraki. Genevieve, please begin when you're ready.
Good evening and hello. My name is Genevieve, or Jenna Davison. I am a junior, also known as year 3 at Meraki, and I've been attending Meraki High School since my freshman year. This school year has been anything but normal, even for a progressive school like Meraki. That is why the recent chatter about potential in-person learning again has me excited. Being back on campus means another adventurous majors week. Last year, the students and staff were able to participate in activities like rock climbing, snowshoeing, baking, laser tag, and even a camping trip during Majors Week. It also means our school community can get back to building the relationships that were growing stronger with the flexibility of student and advisor interactions. Meraki's community extends beyond our campus. Several students have been taking college courses through the dual enrollment partnership. I personally have been able to participate in college-level jazz band and Spanish. Speaking of bands, Meraki has its own band that works on original music, and you can find one of these songs on our San Juan Unified website. The AME, or the Arts, Media, and Entertainment Group, have also been working on big projects. I worked as a script supervisor for a short film project last year, and I'm currently directing an animation project this year. Another learning experience I truly enjoyed was the She Proclaims book club. The author, Jennifer Palmery's story was powerful and inspiring, and I fully enjoyed reading her experience in politics. Because our school was more comfortable with exposure to online learning, it was easier to adapt physical literacy, or PE, into the distant learning model. One physical literacy team activity that we did was using the Goose Chase app. We had to work in teams to complete fitness tasks to earn points, and whatever advisor earned the most points won the game. Safe physical activities such as this helped maintain the sense of teamwork that Meraki is so strong in. Community involvement also continues to grow. Programs like the Rotary Mentorship, cross-age tutoring for younger students, Valentine's for vets, San Juan's food drive, and several other community service projects are helping Meraki's name become more recognizable. All of these activities and student projects are being recorded for the 3rd Meraki yearbook that will be going to press in mid-April. As Meraki continues to grow, I want to emphasize that we will have 11 sets of siblings on our campus next year. We even have a group of parents who would love to see us include 8th grade so that they could send in their younger students as well. We believe this highlights the connection parents and students have made at Meraki, the trust they have in our safe and accepting culture, and the value they see in our creative approach to learning. I'm so glad I made the decision to attend Meraki, and I look forward to my senior year there and becoming one of many alumni in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jenna, for joining us and for your presentation this evening. Do any of my colleagues have any questions at this time? Ms. Creason?
Thank you for your report. Just have to echo what I said for the previous presenter. It's really great to hear a report from our alternative high schools and to hear how it's going. Really excited to hear about your band. I did not know about that, so I will be looking for that link. That's really exciting. I share your excitement going back to campus, so hopefully I can maybe even hear the band live in the next few months. That'd be awesome. And community events. I didn't know that you did so many community events. Some of them I had heard, but I certainly haven't heard of all of them, so that's fabulous. And what really hit my heart was the Valentines for Vets. Can you talk a little bit about that program?
Yeah, so we just recently held a Valentine's for Vets where we as a school came together to write cards for the veterans and send them off to them for a nice little Valentine's Day gift to them to appreciate all that they've done for us.
I love that so much. Just recently, we sent our oldest off to the Navy. So vets and military, special place in my heart. And I know that it's really appreciated, that effort from the school community. So thank you for the report. Appreciate it.
Thank you as well for the report. I also just appreciated the report out on the book study of Miss Palmieri's book. I'm a big fan, and I was sorry that I couldn't miss. I know there was a gathering with the author herself, which sounded very fun. And I'm also curious as well. You mentioned jazz band in your dual enrollment studies. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and what instrument that you play?
So yeah, I have been attending at American River College Jazz Band, and I play the alto saxophone, and I have really liked coming together and playing with everyone as a band.
Excellent. I'm a huge jazz fan, so that sounds exciting, and I'm sure that will be a lot more fun to participate when it's not remote. So I know we're all excited about kind of this next phase. So thank you very much for joining. Seeing no further. Oh, yes, Mr. Kern. Sorry, one moment, Mr. Kern. I don't think we can hear your mic, Mr. Kern.
All right, Joseph. Okay,
There we
Jenna.
go.
Jenna, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hey, you made a comment about some parents and an interest of expanding to 8th grade. I would personally like to hear more, maybe as not only from the parents, but also from students, what they would think about that. So maybe have those parents reach out to me directly, and there'd be an opportunity for myself or some other member of staff that kind of triggered a fascinating response when you said that. So I appreciated you sharing that.
Excellent. Thank you again for your reports and for being here tonight. Student voice is very important to the board, and we appreciate your time. We also want to give you a round of applause. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
You're both certainly welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting, but we know you're very, very busy and invite you to carry on with all of the other things that occupy your time. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. And with that, we are now at item E3, staff reports. Seeing none. We are at items E4 through E6. Mr. Allen, do we have any reports from board-appointed district committees, employee organizations, or other district committees?
We have not had any requests to speak on those items tonight.
Okay, seeing nothing for items E4 through E6. We are now at item E7, and there are no closed session actions to report. So we are at item F, visitor comments. Mr. Allen, will you please give instructions to those in attendance via Zoom on how they can raise their hand if they have a comment at this time?
Certainly, President Villescaz. This item is an opportunity for those individuals attending the meeting to offer comment on topics that are not on tonight's agenda. If your comment is related to an item on tonight's agenda, we would ask that you hold your comment until that item is called, and public comment will be offered at that time. If you'd like to offer a comment on a topic that is not on tonight's agenda, and you have joined us on the Zoom environment, now would be the time to raise your hand. To do so, click the raise hand button found at the bottom of your screen on a mobile device or a desktop client, or press *9 if you've dialed in.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Do we have any general visitor comments at this time?
We do have hands raised at this time, President Villescaz.
Okay, I'd like to remind the public that comments are limited to 2 minutes. The clock on the screen will count down the time. Under the Ralph M. Brown Act, The board is not allowed to comment on items that are not on the agenda, so we're not ignoring your comments. We just can't respond to any individual comments. The superintendent can refer items to staff who can follow up with you. Mr. Allen, I'll turn it back to you to facilitate public comment at this time.
Thank you, President Villescaz. Our first comment will be from Marina Gable. When you are ready. And Marina, it shows you are still on mute if you would like to unmute and offer a comment at this time. And I'm going to go ahead and put you back in the queue, and we will try again in a moment, Marina. Our next comment will be coming from Miss Alicia Nichols. Miss Nichols, when you are ready.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. I am calling as a voting constituent of this district and as a concerned member of this community. Almost a year ago, our country was forced to close down due to the novel coronavirus. Now, a year later, we are averaging 839 deaths a day in the country, and our county just reported 181 new COVID cases as of yesterday. Yet here we are, having made no societal changes, trying to force our children back into classrooms, while a deadly virus that we still don't understand the long-term side effects of is still going strong. You have said that when we reopen, that we will have to close campuses again, only if 25% of a student body is infected for 14 days in a row. My campus, San Juan, that would have to be 163 confirmed cases for students, and since COVID has a 2% mortality rate, at least 3 student deaths. For my alma mater, Del Campo, that would be 500 confirmed cases and at least 12 student deaths before that campus would have to shut down. Why is the acceptable number of deaths for children above 0? No, that is not a rhetorical question. Why would we allow any student deaths if they can be prevented? And to those who say that reopening is necessary, I agree, and we should reopen when we are no longer in the red, the orange, or the purple. I know that distance learning has been hard for our kids and their mental health, but wouldn't it be harder if they got sick and their friends or family got sick or died, or if their favorite teacher got sick and died? The amount of sorrow and guilt they may feel would be even more exponential if they thought they could have been the one to pass COVID on to a loved one, let alone realize their deaths were preventable had schools not been reopened too early. Our children deserve better, and our staff deserves better. Thank you. I yield the rest of my time.
And thank you for your comment. Our next comment will be from Audrey Whitberg. When you are ready.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. I have been very disappointed in the way that the district and the unions have handled the returning back to school. I have a junior at Rio Americano High School, and it's been a year now that she has been forced to be in her house trying to do distance learning, and it's been very difficult for many people. I myself am a teacher in a private school and have been in class teaching since end of September, and we have had hardly any cases at all and no deaths at the school in Sacramento. And I feel it's very safe to be back at school, and there are very clear guidelines as to how we can do that safely. And I'm very disappointed that we have not voted to go back to school full time. I feel like the students are suffering. The depression, the anxiety, the suicide rates have gone up, and I highly recommend that the board decide to go back to the schools 5 days a week, all day long, including sports. Yes, we can wear masks, we can put plastic up, whatever we need to do, but it's very important that these kids get back into school for social norms, for their mental and physical health. And more than anything, these kids that need to get ready for college and AP exams, they need the support from the teachers, they need support from the counselors, and a lot of the teachers want to be there, and you're not allowing us to open. It's against pretty much everything we stand for in America, not to allow our kids to be in school. So I thank you for your time, and I please urge you to get us back in school 5 days a week.
And thank you for your comment. Our next comment will come from, we were going back to Miss Marina Gable. Miss Gable, if you are there and would like to offer a comment at this time.
Yes, hi.
Hello.
Hello. I would like to comment. I understand both speakers and where they come from. But this is America, as the last speaker said, and we do have our freedoms, and we also have fear. Right now, people are very fearful, and that's understandable. And that's why we have our freedoms. We have freedom of choice. So for those of you who are fearful, you have the choice not to put your children back into school. But we also have the freedom of choice to bring our children back to school where they belong, not in a bunch of different cohorts. It needs to be 5 days a week, regular hours. Children need to be face to face with their teachers and their friends. They are dying. I mean, you die from COVID, you die from depression, you die from suicide. It's just literally our choice. And it's very unfortunate that some children are choosing suicide because it has taken too long for you to bring them back to school where they're happy. Thank you.
And thank you for your comment. And President Villescaz, that was the final hand that was raised.
Okay, with that, we are at item G, the consent calendar. Mr. Allen, do we have any public comments for items that are on the consent calendar?
Again, reminding folks who are in attendance on Zoom, if you'd like to offer a comment on anything on the consent calendar, you can click that raise hand button now. We have no submitted comments. And again, Mr. Russell, I'll remind you that this will need to be on something that is on the consent calendar tonight. We do have one hand raised at this time, President Villescaz.
Okay, please go ahead.
And Mr. Russell, when you are ready, sir.
All right, can you hear me?
We can.
I just want to confirm that if it's on the consent calendar, I can ask questions and get interaction.
You can offer a comment up to 2 minutes and the board can engage in discussion, sir.
Okay, I've got a few questions. First of all, I hope that Superintendent Kern takes my comments a little more serious. As of last board meeting, I did hear him laugh during one of my comments about Roseville School. So first, does the superintendent work under the direction of the school board? If I can get an answer to that at some point, I'd appreciate it. Second, does the school board work under the direction of its constituents? I'd like to get an answer to that at some point, please. Third, why haven't parents received an updated survey to see what their current choice is, considering the last one was poorly worded and over 5 months ago on October 30th. And then last, I'd like to say, not only is this new schedule going to be very hard for the teachers, I just spoke to one today during a conference, but the logistics of working parents to get their kids back and forth to school, including Mrs. Creason, is going to be very challenging. And it's going to force a lot of kids to have to stay in distance learning, which is not fair. They're going to have to continue with a model that is failing our children. So again, I'd like to urge our superintendent and our board members to listen to our constituents and work on getting our kids back 5 days in-person learning ASAP. It's what your community wants. It's what your voters want. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Russell. President Villescaz, that is our only hand raised at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Allen. Do any board members wish to remove any items from the consent calendar at this time? Seeing none, and is there a motion to approve items G1 through G9 at this time?
So moved.
It's been moved by Dr. McKibben and seconded by Mr. Hernandez. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. That was unanimous. With that, we are at item I1, social, emotional, and mental wellness supports. Dr. Calvin, please begin when you are ready.
Thank you. Once again, good evening, President Viasquez, members of the board, Superintendent Kern, and Ms. Cunningham. And I'm waiting for Tracy to pull it up. There we go. Supporting the social, emotional, and mental health of our community enables students, staff, and families to connect with others and to better manage the many challenges that we all face on a regular basis. And in light of the pandemic, these services are more vital than ever. Support within San Juan Unified is a responsibility that is shared by many. And tonight, Tracy Locke, lead school counselor, Chris Moran, director of MTSS, and Dominic Cavello, director of student support services, will provide an overview of the various supports provided throughout the district. We will begin with Ms. Locke. Next slide, thank you. Who will discuss Tier 1 site level supports, how we have maintained services through distance learning, and what support will look like as we begin to transition back to in-person instruction. Ms. Locke.
Okay, I think I'm catching up. My multiple screens, of course, cause technical difficulty, but hello, thank you. We're with the program now. I'm here to represent school counselors and site-based school counselors, and site-based school counselors across the San Juan district have been utilizing 3 domains: college and career, academic, and personal social, to implement a comprehensive school counseling core curriculum. Social emotional learning skills are integrated across all domains and encased in each Tier 1 lesson. Delivery of this core curriculum is ongoing and calendared throughout the year. Distance learning resulted in not only creative ways to deliver this curriculum, but also the opportunity to develop innovative tracking techniques to ensure student exposure to these important lessons. Oh, better if you can see me, here I am. As we return to in-person learning, use of these new platforms, tools, and resources will continue and only enhance the way that counselors connect with their students. After all, SEL is part of the how school counselors do business within Tier 1 lessons and during individual and group interactions. With this in mind, several important assumptions are on the forefront of our practice. Returning to school will not be like returning from vacation. Our physical, mental, and emotional health are important. And students' basic needs take priority even before we can expect them to complete work, virtually or otherwise. The realities of the pandemic and today's mindsets have necessitated that school counselors continue to use a crisis response model in all communications across all tiers, all domains, including in their Tier 1 lessons and casual conversations. The crisis response model includes the importance of providing facts, acknowledging and validating feelings, providing support, identifying what helps, promoting self-care, and following up. Sites across the district use this lens in creating action plans for our return to campuses. It'll aid students, staff, and entire school communities. Naviance has also been a constant within school counselors. The Naviance scope and sequence task developed many of the SEL competencies identified by Castle. Just for an example, the Strength Explorer provided in 6th grade developed self-awareness and decision-making. Countywide, our school counselor district leadership and 2 site counseling teams are participating with districts across Sacramento County in a counselor's community of practice through the Sacramento County Office of Education. And we're refining the counseling curriculum and developing a school counseling handbook countywide. With this direction, we are developing a digital lesson bank, a K-12 scope and sequence for Tier 1, as well as predetermined data-driven Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions. This group is also doing work with the Science of Hope in this development. Here is a great example of some of the work that our site-based school counselors are doing across K-12. It's definitely been a puzzle, and at times figuring out how to reach students, and our school counselors are becoming very creative. The use of interactive Google Classrooms, YouTube lessons, YouTube daily updates, social media posts, digital resources, including infographics, increased teacher and counselor collaborations, shared lessons through a digital lesson bank on our shared school counselors Google Drive, online scheduling platforms, unique websites. They're just a few of the many ways that social emotional learning is being nurtured. In fact, Edward Tracy, one of our elementary counselors at Howe Avenue, developed a K-5 SEL digital scope and sequence and lesson bank that is shared on the drive and is available for all of us to use. The shift during distance learning was arduous. However, it produced opportunities for our counselors and students alike. SEL can be found liberally across the district. After all, it's a way of being and a practice of many. Additional SEL resources exist through the prevention office in an SEL curriculum library, and even sites without the service of a site-based school counselor can deploy these lessons to promote SEL. So with that, I would like to introduce Chris Moran, Director in the Multi-Tiered System of Supports Department, and she will share more of the detail that our work that our teams are doing, as well as the amazing ingenuity of the support centers. Chris?
Thank you, Tracy. MTSS is a framework that is utilized to align all of the work happening in the district into 3 tiers. Tier 1 encompasses universal supports that all students receive. Tier 2 are targeted supports that are usually delivered in small groups. And Tier 3 are intensive supports that are usually individualized. I will now share some of the collaborative work happening across the district to support our students with social, emotional, and mental wellness. In addition to the school site counseling staff, the district has put into place some additional layers of support. One of those layers is the Student Support Center. The Support Center exists to provide assistance to students, family, and staff across the district's medium and high-density schools. We provide academic intervention, behavior intervention, social skills instruction, attendance improvement assistance, parent support, coordination with outside agencies, and staff and site team support. In addition, there are 3 social workers who provide the same supports to our low-density school sites. Our high schools have also hired staff into various positions that provide similar supports based on the identified needs of that site. Some examples are school community intervention specialist, intervention teacher, and at-risk case manager. This slide shows the type of supports provided by the Student Support Center team during distance learning. Initially, much of the work was focused around engagement and attendance support, crisis response, and providing essential resources to families so students can engage in distance learning. Some additional layers of support that have been added are virtual, group, and individual counseling sessions. One of the most popular forms of groups during distance learning has been lunch bunches. These are scheduled and supervised times for students to interact with each other in a virtual setting, allowing them to continue to build and maintain relationships. Individual counseling, check-ins, and mentoring have also been highly utilized during this time. When conditions have allowed, we have also done some porch visits to provide engagement and attendance support to our sites, as well as to provide technology and school materials for families unable to pick them up for themselves. Each site we support has a referral process they use to identify students in need of additional supports. Many have provided online referral processes for students and families to access as well. As we prepare to transition back to in-person hybrid learning, our services will remain virtual due to the need to have stable student groups for safety and to enable effective contact tracing. Our staff are all itinerant, meaning they support multiple school sites, which presents an issue with stable student groups and contact tracing under the reopening requirements. We will continue to collaborate with school sites, classroom teachers, and families to identify the optimal times to provide services to students who need support. We will also continue to provide all other services to families as needed. Next slide. This slide just shows some of the additional demographic data on the students that were served by the staff of the Student Support Center, and the data closely aligns with our overall district demographics. Many of our school sites have adopted some trauma-invested approaches in the classroom, one of which is the idea of a calming corner or a space in the classroom for students to utilize when they need some time and assistance with regulating their emotions. Those spaces would have a variety of resources in them to engage the students and assist them in learning self-calming techniques. Examples of what might be in such a space are jars full of glitter water, Play-Doh, different sensory fabrics, books on emotions, coloring options, cards with breathing exercises, etc. The idea behind having a variety of choice is to have students identify what helps them to regulate their own emotions when needed. The use of the calming spaces and materials were taught to all students and used as needed during the school day. As we shifted to distance learning, many sites created their own virtual versions of calming corners. In addition, we developed one at the district level, which you see on the screen, our wellness room. It is available to staff and students on the website and is also available as a tile in the district portal. The wellness room has been featured and behind the scenes, and teachers and other district staff have been utilizing it with their students during virtual learning as needed and appropriate. The site has a variety of options from yoga and exercise to mindfulness, puzzles and games, and even some fun animal cameras. There are also links to district resources on the page. And this just shows the analytics of usage of the district wellness room webpage. We've had almost 4,000 unique users since the page launched in September. And this graph just shows us which pages have received the most views. And you can see puzzles and games is the highest. And coloring and creativity coming in a close second, with animal cameras right up there also. And then here are just a couple of screenshots of the puzzles and games page, as well as the coloring and creativity page, to show some of the options available to the users of the wellness room. One of the shifts we made in spring due to distance learning is we implemented an online referral system that is accessible by anyone via the district webpage. It's also linked to our wellness room page. This provides a way for parents, students, and community members to let us know they are in need of non-emergency support. We triage the requests as they come in and either reach out to the support staff at the site or assign to White House Counseling as appropriate. Since we launched the system in May, we've had over 80 referrals come through. It should be noted that this is not intended to replace any site-specific referral systems or processes. Rather, it is an additional layer for those who might not know how to access supports at their sites. It can also be utilized by site staff if they have a student they think needs more assistance than they can provide. And yet another layer of support that's been implemented starting in August is our partnership with Care Solace. Care Solace is a 24/7 concierge service that will assist our students and their families, as well as our staff and their families, with finding high-quality vetted mental health services. Care Solace assigns a care concierge to those seeking their service. The care concierge works to find a verified provider that both matches the needs and is accepting new clients. They have thousands of verified resources that work with insurance or have private Medi-Cal or sliding scale options as well. The care concierge assists with booking the appointment and will check back in to be sure that the client is happy with their matched provider. So this is some of the data that has been collected since we started our partnership in August. The inquiries received reflects any calls, emails, texts, or video chats from community members, basically anybody that accesses their website. New communications saved are all of the outbound calls that Care Solace makes on behalf of their clients, and they're mostly calls to providers to verify their current availability status. New cases and warm handoffs are all school staff referrals, as well as community members with direct contact that request full concierge assistance into care. Total appointments into care are those confirmed appointments where they spoke to the community member and confirmed that they have attended their appointments and are receiving care. It should be noted that the national average is around 15% once a family is handed resources. About 15% actually go into care. And right now, looking at our numbers, this is about 40% of those that reach out for the concierge service that have managed to get into care. And then the last data point are anonymous searches, and that's just anybody who clicks on the proprietary link but doesn't engage with the care concierge service. The care concierge will make 5 attempts at communication with each referral to connect them with services. Each of our employees that refers to their service has their own dashboard that allows them to follow the progress of Care Solace in getting their student into care. They're also able to communicate with the care concierge if needed. And the next slide just shows a graph of we have a district utilization dashboard. And this shows some of the reasons that the top reasons that people reach out to Care Solace by category. And you can see the top 2 right now are anxiety and depression. And as a reminder, this service is available to students and their families, as well as our employees and their families. And the next slide is just a graphic from our Care Solace dashboard that shows some of the demographics of who has been using Care Solace since August. And now I'm happy to turn it over to Dominic Cavello, Director of Student Support Services, and he'll continue to share some of our other resources.
Thank you, Chris, and good evening again. Next slide, please. Another important component in providing social emotional supports to our students is building our own capacity within the district. This has included expanding our professional development opportunities for teachers, administrators, staff, and families in the area of social emotional, behavioral, and mental health supports. One example of this work is in restorative practices. Restorative practices refer to a range of methods and strategies which can be used to prevent relationship damaging incidents from occurring and ways to resolve them if they do happen. They can also alleviate problems such as bullying, classroom disruptions, truancy, antisocial behavior, and disputes. During distance learning, 3 of our district restorative practices trainers, behaviorist Sean Bollinger, coordinator Christina Sparks, and program specialist Monica Howard have continued to offer professional development in a virtual environment. These trainings have focused on helping teachers, administrators, and staff establish and build relationships, create an inclusive culture with their students, and repair relationships when broken within in-person and distance learning settings. Restorative practices continues to be one of the most requested professional development opportunities in our department, and we are currently looking to expand our group of in-district trainers to continue to build our internal capacity in this area, especially as we welcome more students back to the classroom. And next slide. Also in the area of professional development, trainings in positive behavioral interventions and supports, PBIS, were modified for distance learning to support our staff, students, and families. The goal of PBIS is to proactively build positive student behaviors and to respond to undesired behaviors in a clear and consistent way. Pre-pandemic, approximately 29 schools in the district had participated in PBIS trainings, with the overall goal to become more equitable learning environments for all students. With the move to distance learning, our district PBIS leadership team then embarked on creating a training video for parents and families while their children were home. The video was accompanied by a distance learning handbook with resources and tools. And the video focused on topics such as creating routines at home, creating clear expectations, teaching and rewarding expectations when met, and responding to misbehavior when it occurs. The video has been a great success. It's been watched over 2,200 times. It has garnered attention from educators outside of our district and was recently featured at the National PBIS Conference. In planning to return to in-person hybrid learning, our PBIS team recently led 2 professional development sessions on trauma-informed practices for schools. The training included information related to the more common issues resulting in trauma faced by our students, but it also focused on the potential trauma related to the current pandemic, along with strategies to support students upon their return from distance learning. Over 150 educators signed up for the sessions, and plans are in the works to continue offering trauma-informed trainings for district staff as students transition to hybrid in-person learning. One area that the pandemic has required us to expand our capacity and collective knowledge in is in the area of suicide awareness and prevention. A collaborative suicide prevention leadership team has been formed consisting of 12 social emotional district support staff. This has included representation from our school psychologists, school social workers, school counselors, and mental health therapists. The full team has become certified trainers in signs of suicide, a nationally recognized school-based program from Mindwise. Working together, they have developed consistent research-based materials and resources for our district and school staff. Because of this, when social emotional support staff at our sites are working with a student in a potential crisis, either in person or remotely, they now have clear, consistent steps to follow to assist the student, including common suicide risk assessments for all grade levels, as well as resources, referrals, and templates for individual student safety plans. Next slide. In addition, over the last year, the Suicide Prevention Leadership Team has led signs of suicide trainings to build capacity across the district. This has included 5 sessions specifically designed for our school counselors and social emotional support staff to also become trainers in the SOS program, which then allowed those staff members to take the materials and knowledge back to their own sites to share with site teachers, staff, and administrators. In addition, the district SOS leadership team led 4 general trainings for over 125 educators and 2 SOS trainings in collaboration with our Family Community Engagement Office for parents, guardians, and community. Most recently, the parent guardian trainings were recorded and translated into Spanish, Ukrainian, Russian, Arabic, and Farsi to share with our community members. Additional SOS trainings are currently planned for this spring with our English learner staff, and this work will continue to be a priority as we return to more in-person learning. Next slide. Additional direct supports for our students in the area of school-based mental health continues at our White House Counseling Center. If you recall, approximately 2 years ago, we were unsure on what the future would hold for White House with the loss of their county contract. Fortunately for our students and families, through different funding streams, the White House Counseling Center has continued to provide mental health supports for the district. The center is currently staffed with approximately 6 to 8 mental health interns, 1 licensed mental health program specialist, and a licensed mental health therapist. This is supported by a 5-year CalWell grant with the Sacramento County Office of Education, as well as additional Medi-Cal funding. In the last year, they have received over 120 student referrals for direct services, and currently 99 students are linked to White House services and are receiving both teletherapy and emergency one-to-one in-person services. Most recently, we're excited to report that White House has also reestablished a 3-year contract with County Behavioral Health for providing school-based mental health supports. This is a 3-year renewing contract with the county providing matching funds for students who are Medi-Cal eligible. Additional county partnerships with the district have also provided 1 full-time mental health therapist at Howe Avenue Elementary School as a pilot in the SCOE mental health collaboration with school districts. Next slide. And at this time, I would like to turn the presentation over to Marty Velasco, school counselor, to share more about some of the services discussed tonight at Sylvan Middle School.
Thank you, Dominic. This year, Sylvan Middle School counselors and counselors throughout the district have been delivering lessons from our comprehensive school counseling curriculum on topics such as learning coping skills for anxiety, depression, feelings of loneliness, stress management, managing healthy relationships and friendships, and setting boundaries. We also taught and reinforced study skills, organization skills, how to use agendas, organizing binders, and something new that we had to learn in order to teach it, digital organization and note-taking. At Sylvan, we have leveraged our partnerships with multiple organizations to further support our students. One of our community partners is the American River College Educational Talent Search TRIO program. Together, we have organized virtual college tours, virtual hangouts. We ran an online game called Among Us, offered career talks in which professionals virtually presented to our students about their college and career journeys. We are also especially excited of the work we were able to accomplish with Naviance. The slide you see shares data of those efforts at Sylvan to address the competency of social awareness, self-management, relationship skills. In 6th grade, using Naviance, we used Strengths Explorer and also created an academic SMART goal. In 7th grade, we focused on the learning styles inventory and created a personal social SMART goal. And finally, we've been working with our 8th graders to develop a 4-year plan as they prepare to transition to high school and start making those decisions about college and career. And thanks to our organized and skilled Sylvan intervention support team, we have been able to respond quickly to the ever-changing needs of our students during the pandemic. This amazing team includes our admin, our support center school social workers, our school site school counseling team, and our school community intervention specialist. Our goal is to always be prepared to meet any barriers our students and families may have, especially the social emotional safety needs of our students. And I'm also proud to say that Sylvan counselors were the first to create a virtual wellness room in San Juan Unified, and it went live. This experience of delivering our lessons and services virtually has been a challenge one, but I know it has changed the way I will deliver my school counseling curriculum in the future. Now, I will always use Google Classroom. I will always use Zoom to connect with students and families, and will use those tools to better serve my school community and to be a better public servant. Finally, these unprecedented times have shown how important mental health is for our students and why we need more school counselors in schools. Thank you. And now, our parent presenter, Mrs. Olendek, will share her experience with White House Counseling.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. I think, is that Ms. Zolendek?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, go ahead. You're good to go.
I just wanted to say that our family is truly grateful to Monica Howard and Christina Origani from the White House. A couple of years ago, our family went through a very big trauma, and we were recommended by the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department to White House. We underwent 18 plus months of counseling, upon which some of those sessions were done on site at my son's school and at our house. I just wanted to say that was incredibly valuable. If it wasn't for those sessions, my son probably would have missed 3 or more hours per session at school. And my husband probably would have missed 5 or more hours per session of work. If it wasn't for that, he wouldn't have been able to progress through his treatment as much as he did. He would not be as well as he is today. And there is no doubt in my mind that he would have failed in school. I just wanted to say thank you to all of them. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Ms. Solendek. This marks the end of our presentation, and we are happy to address any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Dr. Calvin and team. Before we go to questions and comments, I'm going to check in really quick with Mr. Allen. Do you have any public comments on this item?
For those who have joined us on Zoom, we would invite you to offer a comment at this time by raising your hand. And we do have one hand raised at this time, President Villescaz.
Okay, please proceed.
Give me one moment. My screens have shifted around on me as well.
Do I need to stop sharing?
No, you should be okay.
Okay, we're good.
There we go. So our first comment is from Richard Gianelli. When you are ready, Richard. And it does show you still as muted. There we go.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
I just wanted to see when we're going to be going back to school more than 2 days at 2 hours a week.
So that would be a comment for another item, and unfortunately we can't answer that during this item. So I'm going to put you back into the
Where do
queue
I
there.
go to ask that question?
The next item talks about our plans for returning to in-person learning. So stick around for one more item.
Gotcha, thank you.
No problem. Our next comment is from Miss Alicia Nichols. Miss Nichols, when you are ready.
I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for the services that you're offering and all of the help that you're doing. I truly appreciate it. And I know that the students that the lives that you touch and the students that you help truly appreciate it too. Thank you so much.
And thank you for your comment, Miss Nichols. Our next comment is from Krista Green. Krista, when you're ready.
I just want to thank Dominic, our school counselors, our support staff, and everybody that has worked so hard this year. You guys have truly made a difference as a staff member and working with Dominic and Restorative Practices. I'm just proud of every single one of you. Thank you so much for what you've done for our students.
And thank you for the comment. And President Villescaz, that was our final public comment for this item.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. At this time, I'll turn it to my colleagues for questions. And we're back in person. So just for my colleagues, I'm going to just turn and look for visual cues, and I'm going to pretend like I'm crossing the street, and I'm going to do it twice. So you won't have a problem. Okay. Just want to give that cue to folks here on the dais. We're going to start over to my left for questions and comments. Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to thank you for the report. Appreciate the services that are offered to our students. And I have just a quick question for Ms. Locke. The wellness room, I didn't know that we were offering that. Sounds pretty cool. Will that wellness room program continue as our students return to in-person learning? Or will we have that wellness room at schools? Or how's that going to work, if it will work?
Well, I'll be happy to jump in since you called me out on that. So thank you very much. Yes, most definitely to answer your question. The Wellness Room is an online platform, and not only will it will continue digitally, but several of our sites are planning on creating spaces on campus that are actually calming spaces or wellness spaces, not only in the elementary and middle school levels, but also at the high school. I know that San Juan already has one in place, and they're talking about how to utilize that space and area in following the guidelines as students return, to not only provide an outlet for students, but staff as well. So yes, most definitely.
Thank you so much.
We'll continue.
Great to hear. Thank you.
Ms. Costa?
I'd also like to say thank you for the report. I was so excited by the number of services that were highlighted during the report. I did send a question about the 5,560 students who were supported through the Student Support Center. And my question was that, was this clustered at a few schools, or were the services provided across the district? And what I was told is, of the 36 sites, students were served at all of those sites, which makes me feel really good. I asked, were there any students who couldn't be served? They said all of their referrals were met. So that also made me proud. When I saw the wellness room, I was just so excited, and I explored it with my granddaughter. And we played on the wellness room, and I saw that a 4-year-old could be excited by it. But I think most adults would find it very calming. And I hope we'll find a more prominent place to put it on our website so everybody sees it and starts utilizing it. It really is an amazing and interesting site to visit on a variety of levels. I know of an elementary school that's going to have a calming room when they go back in person. And when they saw this particular board item and saw the wellness room, they added it to their calming room as another activity for kids. So I just can't say enough about what's been accomplished by our staff during this really difficult period of time. And hats off to everybody who has gone above and beyond. I know we hear so often from parents about the social emotional needs of students. And when you see the number of students being served, that really is a statement of how dedicated our staff is. And just thrilled to know that the White House received a 3-year grant. That is the best news ever. So thanks a lot to staff.
Ms. Creason.
Thank you for the report. And I echo, I'm really proud of the very multi-pronged way that we do services. We all know that different people have different needs. Some people are more on the prevention and early intervention side of things. Some people are actually demonstrating actual mental illness. Maybe it's challenged just by challenges caused just by the pandemic, air quotes just. So I'm just really glad that our district reaches out to. We don't pretend to have everything on site, that we have so many partners that make these services possible so we can really meet students and families where they're at. It's so incredibly important. So with that said, I'm wondering, I know that folks can access services through Care Solace and through the wellness room, but I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit about how students and families are aware that those things exist. And so how do we let folks know how to access? And I direct that to whoever wants to answer.
I'm going to ask Ms. Moran to take that one on.
Sure. So yes, it's advertised on our website. Care Solace has been a few social media campaigns. The support center staff has also shared the links with their site administrators, and it's gone home in site newsletters from both the school site as well as the student support center. So those are some of the ways that we have made sure to advertise it's available. Also, when a staff member works with a family, they do offer it. If it's a appropriate referral, they will offer the referral when they're working with the family.
That's helpful. And just a couple of follow-up questions. Do we provide those communications more than just in one campaign, like throughout the year? And I know some of this is relatively new, but I'm just wondering, is it kind of a staggered approach? Because someone might not need it, in month A, but they really need it in month B.
Yeah, Care Solace, from the district's social media platforms, I've seen Care Solace come through at least 3 times. I've noticed before a break, we'll put it out there. So it's come through multiple times that way. It's in most of the newsletters from the Student Support Center. And I believe our school sites are sending it out pretty regularly as well in their newsletters. And I've noticed some of our school sites also have a link on their webpage as well.
And that's wonderful and awesome. And I think we should keep doing that. And then I'd also just like to offer a suggestion of making sure the kids are seeing it, because I don't know that all of our kids are paying attention to our social media, or they're not really reading the newsletters. I'm sure some are, but maybe it would be worth asking them, hey, we have these things. Have you heard about them? Or how can we best let you know about X? Maybe that's, asking a teacher, someone that they're actually seeing day to day to give them a flyer. I don't know. I don't presume to know all the answers, but just something I think about. We have so many wonderful resources. I just want people to know we have them and know how to access them. Another thought that I was really happy to hear about the professional development opportunities for the adults in our district. But I'm just wondering, has there been any discussion or consideration of providing trainings for our kids? So more of the peer support, there's a mental health first aid for youth. So I just wonder if those conversations are happening too.
I can take that one. As it relates to the professional development around signs of suicide, for example, there is a big youth component to that. it is in the planning of the leadership team to introduce that to sites. That has already been done. And I can turn it over here quickly to Monica Howard to share a little bit more on that. She leads our Signs of Suicide leadership team, and they've already entered discussions with sites to bring that to students. Monica?
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Creason, for the question. So yes, when we decided to put together our training plan, we looked at it in 3 phases. We wanted to make sure that there was district protocols and procedures in place first, which we did last year. Then the next component was training our district staff. And then the third component is working with our students. And so right now the plan is to work with some of our high schools with Christina Sparks, who has a prevention grant. And so they will be the first sites that will do the rollout when looking at training students.
Thank you. That's great to hear. And the staggered approach makes sense. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. I appreciate that. And my last comment is just, I want to thank Renee for sharing her lived experience and her personal story. I know that might be hard to do, but it was definitely beneficial for me to hear, and I'm sure for everyone that was listening. So thank you, Renee, for sharing. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Creason. Dr. McKibben.
I wanted to ask Ms. Velasco, related to slide 24, the 4 different SEL programs that are mentioned there. And I want to understand the numbers a little bit better. Like, for example, on the 4-year plan and the transition to high school, it says 98% there for the 8th graders. Does that mean that 98% of the 8th graders develop plans? Or I'm trying to figure out what the numbers mean.
So that means that 98% of our 272 8th graders have started their plans or have completed their plans. So we're shooting for 100%.
Okay. And similarly with each one of the grades, for the 7th graders, talked about a personal social SMART goal, and looks like 2/3 of the 2/3 of what? Is it the same kind of the total again?
Yes, sir. So, there's actually another data piece that is missing there. So I don't have it right in front of me, but I know that we have a certain percentage that has started it and completed it. They actually hit the submit button. And then there's another piece of kids who have started it, but haven't clicked that submit button. So I really believe that our numbers are actually better than what this slide says. So yes, our 42% of our 260 7th graders have completed their learning styles inventory. And those are the kids who had actually clicked submit. Same with creating a personal social SMART goal. 66% of 200 and some kids have completed it, have actually hit the submit button.
And do you expect those numbers all to be close to 100% by the end of the semester? Is that what your goal is?
Our goal is 100%. First, our primary was 6th graders, really getting them to know Naviance, an introduction to it. And then obviously that was ours during the fall, really focused on 6th and 7th. And then now we're really focused on our 8th grade so that they have a completed 4-year plan. And we would actually have better numbers, better than 98% completed. But we're also scheduling meetings with parents and involving them in the conversation and having them see what, using Naviance, how to use it, how to look at careers, how to look at colleges, and really get kids really excited about talking about college and about how they get themselves there in high school.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to the team for the presentation. I want to echo a few of the sentiments. First, I know this has been a really challenging time, but was really one of the upsides and one of the silver linings here is definitely the continued relationship with White House counseling. I know when we all thought that was going away, that was going to be a pretty significant loss there. And also I want to just acknowledge, the work with our Sacramento County team. I know that there was some key advocacy efforts that made that relationship and that partnership possible. So I want to thank the team and our community partners as well. Thank you, Miss Locke, for leading the charge with the team, and of course my thanks to Mr. Covello as well. Ms. Velasco, thank you for leading the charge on the ground. And another benefit really has been, I know resources like Naviance have been kind of part of our San Juan space for a while, but weren't really getting the utilization that I think we were always kind of hoping and wishing for. And so one of the, flip sides of this entire event is that I think we all as a community had to finally start leaning on some of these that were kind of just available but now really putting them into practice. And it's my hope that the positives of these, stick around as we transition instructional models and continue to modify. I hope that these stick around in terms of kind of the regular practice and expectations. I also wanted to echo my thanks to Ms. Zollendek as well. It was really, really helpful to hear your direct experience. And I just want to say thank you for helping kind of normalize, getting help and making it part of a family conversation. I just think back to potential benefits that my own family could have had if these types of services were around. And so I'm just super appreciative of you taking your time to be here with us this evening. Also, just anytime we're increasing Medi-Cal usage and supports, I get really excited as kind of a healthcare nerd. Those are words that generally make me happy. So excited to see that. I know that we've had a lot of pivoting to do the last year, but we really, really have amplified and out of pure necessity, out of being able to meet the basic needs of our students and our community, have to amplify a lot of this work. But the fact that it actually got done, thanks to so many in this presentation, I'm super, super thankful. And again, I remain positive and hopeful that this will become a part of just our regular practice here in San Juan in a more robust way than we had pre-pandemic. So I just want to thank the team. Seeing no further comments or questions from anyone. Thank you all very much to the team for the presentation. Thank you for the report. With that, we are now at item I2, update on returning to in-person learning. Superintendent Kern, please begin when you're ready.
President Villescaz, members of the board, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Allen, and he is going to lead this with some folks jumping in at times when needed.
So good evening, President Villescaz, members of the board, Superintendent Kern. We're pleased to be providing a report tonight sharing the progress we've made in securing definitive timelines for providing students the option to return to in-person learning. Again, with this presentation, just like our last meeting, because we've added information as of today, I would make a friendly recommendation to the board to engage in a round of questions and discussion after the presentation, and then move into public comment and come back for another round of perhaps comment and discussion after that as well. But let's get into it. So tonight we're going to again touch on that timeline to return update. We were able to make some announcements last week, so we'll cover those very quickly. Then we're going to highlight and provide some updates on just a few of the preparation efforts that are currently underway as we get ready to welcome students back to campuses. And finally, we'll wrap up the presentation with a couple of quick updates on athletics and the state funding proposals approved by the legislature and governor just last week. As we start the conversation tonight, just a quick reminder of the 6 priority areas we've called out to base our decisions and deliberations on during our response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, our learning model continuum that we approved back in July identifies our strategy to implement instructional options for families based on changes to health guidance and conditions over time. Tonight, I'm happy to share that we're very close to being able to move into the middle section of the continuum and offer students a modified in-person learning option. As we announced to families and staff members last Tuesday, the district was able to reach a new agreement with our Teachers Association, providing for important changes to our return to campus timelines. We now plan to offer all students in all grade levels an option to return to in-person learning once the county reaches the red tier of the state's COVID-19 risk assessment system for 5 days. You'll recall that previously we had planned for a period of 14 days in the red tier, which aligned with the health guidance at the time. And while progress continues for Sacramento County on its path to the red tier, we were also able to announce that students in grades K through 5 and self-contained 6th grade classrooms would return on April 5th if we hadn't yet reached the red tier by then. Our 6th grade students who switch classrooms will be offered the option to return once the county reaches the red tier for 5 days. So now, of course, the big question is, when will Sacramento get to the red tier? The metrics are improving almost daily. We do seem to have plateaued just a little bit with a case rate hovering around 8 to 10 cases per 100,000 every day. By the state's dashboard, which is what we must use when determining the ability to offer in-person learning options, Sacramento County's adjusted case rate stood at 9.5 cases per 100,000 residents in today's update. That's down from last week's 12 cases per 100,000. The testing positivity rate in today's dashboard was 5.8%, putting that metric well within the range needed for the red tier. While we must use the state dashboard in making determinations to offer in-person services, we do watch the county dashboard as well, which has less of a lag time in its data. Today, the county is reporting a case rate of 8.2, which is relatively consistent with recent days, and means we can expect the state number to further decline when it's updated next week. As you can see in the chart, to reach the red tier, the testing positivity rate has to be under 8%, and we have to have an adjusted case rate in the county of under 7 cases per 100,000 residents. But last week, state officials announced that once 2 million vaccine doses have been able to be given to some of the state's most disadvantaged areas, the metric requirements to achieve lower tiers would be modified. Once the state meets the 2 million vaccine goal in identified geographic areas, counties will advance to the red tier once their case rate has fallen below 10 cases per 100,000 instead of 7. As of today, Sacramento's official case rate of 9.5 puts us within the criteria needed to reach the red tier if this adjustment is made. Remember, a county must maintain the lower tiers metrics for a two-week period before we're officially moved. Assuming the adjustment is made, this could mean we're in week 1 of that 2-week period right now. State officials believe that they may hit their 2 million vaccination goal this week or next week. If that does happen and our case rate remains below 10, Sacramento County could move to the red tier as soon as March 16th, which means we would resume the in-person learning option on March 22nd. So with the potential opening around the corner, efforts to ensure our readiness are in full gear. As I shared with you at the last meeting, we've been working to update our COVID safety plan and complete the newly required site-specific COVID prevention plans. While both plans will be updated continually as guidance and processes change, their current versions are complete and posted online. You can find them at the link there on the site, as well as all of the school individual websites as well. Schools are ready to offer orientations for our students. This will be especially important, of course, for our new students and those in those transition years. So those kindergarten students, our middle school students, and of course, our high school freshmen who haven't had a chance to be on campuses yet. Student orientations can be held virtually or in person, depending on the school community's needs. We also want to make sure that our parents are well informed of the safety measures that will be in place. So schools will be offering virtual parent orientations in the coming weeks. And off at the printer right now are our welcome packet materials that include both reminders on safety practices, as well as guidance on safety rules and policies put in place specific to the pandemic. Our families will receive a digital copy sent from the district and a second copy with additional school-specific information from their school sites. These materials should start going out next week for our elementary students, and shortly after that for our secondary students, depending on our progress to the red tier. Campuses are working on their physical setup as well. A lot of directional signage is already out, and things are going up across campus to help direct the flow of people. But our school staff are also in rooms arranging desks to make sure that we have the required spacing. And I want to spend just a few minutes going into a few details on that process. First, as we shared in our last update, the 6 feet of spacing is a requirement in the health guidance. It is not optional. It has very specific language that says 6 feet must be used. There's been a lot of discussion about how the 6 feet is measured, and the state did update their guidance to clarify. To meet the standard, there should be 6 feet of distance between the middle of each student's chair when the chair is pushed into the desk. Also important to note is that the teacher's desk must be at least 6 feet from other desks. The guidance does allow for deviating from the 6 feet of space, and we've had a lot of questions from both staff and community on that. First, the guidance is clear that 6 feet is the minimum and can only be deviated from when a good faith effort has been made to reach it. Examples given of good faith efforts include use of hybrid schedules, schedule adjustments, removing other items from the rooms. After making a good faith effort, distance can be reduced to no less than 4 feet. If a school site does have a room where 6 feet of space will not accommodate students and other efforts to adjust cannot be made, we have adopted a process to review and approve requests to use less than 6 feet of space that involves review at the school level, the school director or assistant superintendent level, discussion with our employee groups, mitigation planning with our facilities team, and then a required final sign-off and approval by our assistant superintendent for facilities. Again, reductions in space are allowable, but only after all other efforts have been tried, and they should be used in limited cases. And it's the spacing requirement that really drives what has become one of the biggest questions we're getting since making our announcement last week. Why do we have to do this hybrid schedule? The hybrid format allows us to reduce student group size to the levels required so that we can meet the space requirements in health guidance. We're also asked, why not a different hybrid model, like going for half days each day of the week? The district has long committed to continuing to offer families a distance learning option for the remainder of this year, which the state is also now requiring. To shift to another model like half days would require that thousands of students and hundreds of teachers be reassigned to new classes, breaking relationships and causing greater disruption for what will already be a shortened time together. And I believe Superintendent Kern wanted to jump in at this point.
Thank you, Trent. I want to break this out in a little greater detail for both the board and the community, for them to understand why we did choose the model that we chose. And it really goes to that last point about preventing the reassignment of thousands of students. So when we had 2 models that we were originally looking at for elementary. We were looking at an AM/PM or an A schedule and a B schedule, which was the model that we ended up on. And once we started looking more deeply into the impacts of those schedules, we realized that if we were to go to an AM/PM model, there would be significant shifts for both students and staff. So I want to walk through that so that people could really understand the negative ramifications that it would have been for both our students and our staff. We have approximately 19,000 elementary students. When we got our surveys, it was somewhere between 70 to 75% of our families said they would return. So we had anywhere from 25 to 30% of our families that said they would stay in distance learning. So when you look at those by sheer numbers, we would have needed approximately 4,750 to 5,700 students would have needed distance learning teachers, okay? So those students right there would have had to have a shift in their current teacher. So what does that mean in terms of the total number of teachers? In order to meet the needs of 4,750 students, we would have needed approximately 190 distance learning teachers. If it went up to 5,700 students, we would have needed 228 distance learning teachers. And I just used a round number of 25 because our classes go a little higher or a little lower. It could have been more or less. So we would have had to had significant numbers of students, and I'll walk through that. So approximately 4,000 students who would have wanted to return to in-person learning would have had a different teacher than they would have been with all year long, because we don't have the need for we have students that would need distance learning teachers. At the same time, we would have had a similar number of students. So combined 8,000 students in just our elementary division would have seen a new teacher likely. It also would have caused the shifts of anywhere from 190 to 228 teachers having a different assignment. So for example, If President Vasquez and I were both third grade teachers at Ottoman, and we had 30% of our students who chose not to come back to school, well, one of us likely would have had to become a distance learning teacher. One of us would have stayed. Well, there's a mix in between there. Well, some of my students would have still wanted to be in person. Well, likely we would have had to create combination classes at every grade in every school. So if Ms. Costa and Dr. McKibben were the second grade teachers, one of you would have become a distance learning teacher. The other might have taught a 1-2 combo or a 2-3 combo, taking some of our kids. Those shifts would have been across the district. We likely would have seen an average of about 5 to 6 teachers from every school that would have had to have a new assignment, including grades that they taught, as well as even teaching at a brand new school. So shifts like that for our students, and that's just the elementary again, we felt really would have been damaging in terms of having to have brand new teachers, teacher assignment shifts. Those would have been too disruptive in our system. So if we looked at the secondary unit as well, we would have seen something similar, maybe not as many because we could have possibly been creative utilizing prep periods, but we would have had teachers who would have had to have new assignments, teachers that may have had to teach distance learning even though they chose to return to in-person. So it really created a level of complexity that made it really challenging for us. And when I look at other districts, surrounding districts that are back, they're not seeing the numbers that said they were going to come back that we were. Now that might change even now for us. Folsom Cordova is back. They're seeing in the 50%. If that were the case, those 8,000 students, probably 12,000 would have needed new teachers, and we may have had over 300 teachers who would needed to be reassigned. So those are things that you don't normally understand and look at on a base level. It just says, well, I would have preferred the AM, PM, that would have been easy, but the disruption to our entire system would have been significant. I want to call out again, at the time we were looking at these models, there was no 5-day-a-week anybody going to. These were the models we were looking at. I'd also like to say that there is not a single school district, public school district in Sacramento County that has returned to 5 days a week. And I'm pretty sure right now, the approval of 5 days a week would not be approved based on the guidance that Mr. Allen shared about the spacing in the classroom. We would not be able to have classes at our secondary schools that go to 36 in our elementary classrooms, spacing at that level that go into the upper 20s to 30 at our upper grades. Those are the kind of challenges right now that we would not be able to abide with based on the guidance that we're faced with. So I just kind of wanted to walk the public through that to help them understand why we did choose the model we did. We are committed to this model. We cannot be looking at changing models. Again, if that were the case, even later in the year with less time left, we would be disrupting students and their families. And I would share with the board, if we had thousands of students whose schedules we had to change at this point in time, I'm sure we would have many, many emails from parents upset about those changes that would be taking place as well. So we're committed to doing the best we can with the model that we chose. When I get questions about next year and what the model would look like, I believe we said this at the last meeting. We are committed to staffing our schools as if we will be returned to 5 days a week. Everything that we're going to do will be returned to 5 days a week in the fall. We still plan to offer other options for those who don't feel safe and want to continue in a homeschool or a distance learning program. Those options will be there, but that will be staffing that is above and beyond. And with that, Trent, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Superintendent Kern. So we also want to highlight for you one of the anticipated challenges that we see coming our way, and that of course is substitutes. Before the pandemic, we were already experiencing a substitute shortage, and with the pandemic, the shortage has continued and been made worse as many of our subs are retirees who are in that high risk for COVID. As we return to campuses, we will have teachers who have normal sick days. We may also have teachers who are exposed or test positive for COVID, requiring an extended quarantine or isolation period, making the demands for substitutes even greater. Working proactively, our HR and schools teams have already implemented strategies to help increase the availability of substitutes in a variety of ways, but we're still afraid it may not be enough, resulting in our administrators needing to cover classrooms extensively. As we've heard from our community, their willingness to help support students return to campus, we would welcome anyone who is qualified and has an interest in substituting to sign up now. Those with teaching credentials obviously qualify, but anyone with a bachelor's degree who passes an exam of basic skills test can be a substitute. And I can attest that the test is not entirely complex. I actually have my substitute credential as well. So I may be in classrooms as we move through this semester too.
Trent, let me build off that a little bit. I want folks to be aware. So you heard Trent say that it is likely that we're going to go to red on the 16th. That means we would open K-12 system-wide on the 22nd. Many other districts in the region and throughout the state have delayed until after spring break because they still had some of their staff that were being vaccinated. We want the board to understand, as well as the community to understand, that we have many staff members that will be getting their vaccination the Sunday before the 22nd, so on Sunday the 21st. There are folks that have a reaction. If we're to return on that date of the 22nd, we will likely see more challenges related to substitute the very first day or two. And so we are aware of that. We're actually meeting tomorrow morning again with our bargaining partners to discuss creative solutions to that. But we're trying to be as proactive as we can. But we don't even know on that day, we may have administrators. We may have other people here at the central office who could sub who are having an adverse reaction. We're going to do the best we can. We want to be able to come back as soon as we can based on our agreement. And even if those first 2 days are a little bumpy because we have staff that are out, we will at least be back in person and prepared for the remainder of this school year.
Thank you, Superintendent Kern. So there's a couple of quick updates as we wrap up our presentation. As we shared last time, additional sports, including outdoor contact sports, are authorized to play. Our football teams have started official practices last week, and some teams will be scrimmaging later this week. The state has also now authorized other sports, including indoor sports, to resume if we follow the collegiate health guidelines. Part of the requirement is to test each student athlete and coach involved in these sports on a weekly basis. We are deploying our first round of athlete testing tomorrow after successfully completing training for our central safety team today. They'll be assisting our coaches, athletic directors, and site administrators to ensure we're able to test each student and coach, and we'll review how our testing effort is going before we bring the sports authorized last week online. This is also just the tip of our testing program. As I shared at our last meeting, we've entered into a partnership with the California Department of Public Health and Valencia Branch Lab to provide asymptomatic and response testing as we prepare to welcome students and staff back to our campuses. This has been an incredibly complex feat between identifying testing strategies, securing supply partners, and getting everything rolling. I did want to share with the board that we are fortunate to have been able to secure the assistance of Dr. Donna O'Neill with this. She's going to assist us with this task. And of course, she retired from our system not too long ago. And I want to thank her publicly for stepping up to help us with this endeavor because she's making it go very, very smoothly for us so far. And lastly, tonight, just a couple of notes on last week's announced state efforts to support schools returning. The governor and legislature approved 2 pots of funding. The first pot can be used for expenses related to safety measures and other needs to get students back to in-person learning. It's an optional grant dependent upon local agencies participating and meeting certain requirements, such as providing in-person services to specific student groups by certain dates or when in certain tiers. The state has set aside just over $2 billion statewide for this purpose. The second funding opportunity provides more than $4 billion in schools throughout the state, specifically for the purpose of helping combat learning loss and enhancing learning moving forward. Funds must be used for that specific purpose, and they must be prioritized for targeted student groups. As part of this funding, the district will be developing a formal plan for expenditures and returning to the board for greater conversation. And with that, we're happy to take any questions or discussion you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Do any of my colleagues have questions or comments at this time? I'm doing my quick road check to see. So yes, just given the topic and given the interest, I can do a round of comment now. We can listen to public comment and then we can return for further comment as needed. It's looking, however, that there might be a preference to go to public comment first, unless there's any comments now. Okay, then that being the case, Mr. Allen, do we have any public comments on this item at this time?
We do, President Vasquez. So we would of course remind folks, if you'd like to offer a comment on this item, now is your opportunity to do so by using that raise hand button at the bottom of your screen, or *9 if you've called into the call meeting tonight. And with that, we will go ahead and get started. Our first, I apologize when I present, my windows get all bumped around. Our first comment will be from Patrick Austin. Patrick Austin, when you are ready.
Good evening. Thank you for taking my comment and questions. This is directed towards the superintendent. He mentioned the survey that was sent out. I believe he's referring to the one that was in October, and that 75% of people that answered wanted to go back to school. It's looking like April is going to be a good time to go back to school. Trent, you also released a lot of statistics about COVID. I had a few statistics myself. For the flu season for children, in 2017 to 18, 188 died. In 18 to 19, 144 died. In 19 to 20, 195 died. When the death count for COVID was at 376,000, people under 15 accounted for 0.03% of those deaths. That's a little over 100. One person made a comment earlier that 2% of children die from COVID. That's 2% in ICU cases. I'd like to know when we're going to get back to a more normal schedule. I know the superintendent said that we are stuck in this, even though nearby Dry Creek has been going to school 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'd really like to know when we can come to an agreement as taxpayers and the school board versus the union and the school board. I'd like to hear from the superintendent on those comments, please. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Austin. Our next comment comes from Ken Furl. When you are ready, Ken Furl. And we do still show you as on mute.
Thank you for letting me have a comment tonight, you guys. Had kids in the district for 15 years, have been in California public education personally for 16. And I'm just reading today that Marin County is going back full-time on April 12th. They've been in school in person since last year. Wouldn't it be great if all these social, emotional, and welfare support programs in multiple layers actually addressed the problem and made a difference? And I saw no data that said they do. Drug use, depression, failing grades, school dropouts, overdoses, abuse, and suicides are all up in our students. 2.5 hours for 2 days a week doesn't cut it. I'm sorry. When will the kids go back full time? Let's do it immediately. There is no more excuse, you guys. I really appreciate your efforts, but man, I just feel like the union really has us trapped here, and we can do better than this. Thank you.
And thank you for your comment. Our next comment will come from Patrick Austin. Patrick Austin, when you are ready.
I already spoke, but thank you for another opportunity.
I apologize. Thank you. Our next comment is coming from Nikki Cardoza. When you are ready, Nikki.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I wanted to ask the board to specifically address an issue with the special education students in the district. My main concern is that there are some students in the district currently receiving in-person services. Those in-person services are not being offered to the students that were previously pre-pandemic in a full inclusion situation. However, there are some students who are still receiving their in-person time with their full-time classroom aides in the district on school sites. That is not being offered to all parents. Not all parents know that that's available to them. When special education has been questioned about this by parents, the response is that there is no current plan to return any of IEP services for these full inclusion students to in person. It's all going to be virtual for the foreseeable future. However, that to me as a parent is unacceptable. If it's safe to offer these services to some students, then all parents with students with IEPs that receive these services, like speech, occupational therapy, and physical therapy, they should be able to opt into this to receive their services in person. And I think special ed should have to answer for what criteria and metrics they are using to allow some students to receive services and some students to not. And I understand the issues with staffing, and I understand the district is working very hard, but I don't think it's fair to continue to marginalize special education students who are even more vulnerable during this time. Thank you.
And thank you for your comment. Our next comment will come from Richard Gianelli. When you are ready, Richard.
Hello.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
So is this just a statement, or can I actually ask a question?
You can pose a question and the board can choose to have discussion around that if they desire when they get to their discussion and question time as well.
So it's basically if they want to work or not. Okay. Thank you. So for one, just off the last person that just made a statement with the IEP, we have a son that's in IEP speech, and our speech therapist says that there's no way we can do this over the computer because we have to be able to see each other's actual tongue and how it moves and things like that. So therefore, he's no longer in the IEP, waiting for it to come back to full in person, and you guys have no plans for that. So that's unacceptable. And I would like an answer of why they can't do that in person from the board. Also, 2.5 hours a week, 2 days a week, unacceptable. For starters, it's not even worth my gas money for 2.5 hours, 2 days a week. And as far as distance learning goes, I don't even know what word I can use for that. So I'll just leave it at that. Distance learning does not work, and I will not let my kid come into the distance learning. I have 3 of them, so you guys are going to lose money per day for that alone. Have a good day.
Thank you for your comment, sir. Our next comment will come from Miss Alicia Nichols.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. I have a few questions. One, I remember that there was a newer ordinance that stated that high schools must open after 9 a.m. due to the health of students. Why are we now deciding to use our hybrid learning option to open at 8 a.m.? Number 2, how does slashing our students' learning time to make our students be in person, risking their lives to learn in person, help with their learning loss that we're thinking is happening when in fact we have them for about an hour or more at a time during distance learning a day? And then again, I'd like to remind everyone that we are averaging about 839 deaths a day in the country, and our county itself just reported 181 new COVID cases as of yesterday. Yet here we are, having made no societal changes, trying to force our children back into classrooms while a deadly virus that we don't understand the long-term side effects rages on. It has been said that when we reopen that that campuses will only close again if 25% of a student body is infected for 14 days in a row. This was something that was said at a board meeting. Can I just remind you, all of these 25%, these are all human lives, by the way. Each and every person is a student, a child, okay? For my campus at San Juan High School, that would have to be 163 confirmed student cases. And since COVID has a 2% mortality rate, that would be at least 3 student deaths. For my alma mater, which was Del Campo High School, that would be 500 confirmed deaths and at least 12 student deaths. Okay. Why is the acceptable death rate for any child above 0? And I know that the board has no say in any of this. So this is a question for Kent. Okay. Kent, why would we allow any students to go back to school and possibly get sick or die, or cause their family members to get sick or die, if they can be prevented?
And thank you for your comment. Our next comment will be from Carrie Weiner. When you are ready.
Hi, thank you for the time. First, I would like to ask why we're not sending out another survey. You guys seemed very keen on sending out surveys from the beginning. And I think the last survey proved that people want to be back in school. And if you were to send out another one with appropriate models for going back, you would see that the majority of the people want to be back. Second of all, I want to voice again about the IEPs. I have been calling into the meetings for months, trying to talk to you guys about the IEPs. I've sat in on the special education meetings that are on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but yet you guys don't seem to care about these kids that have IEPs that are getting left behind. And the fact that you continue to think that their resource teachers can meet with them online, speech therapy can continue online, is unacceptable. When other school districts in the area are providing these in person, that should be something you guys are doing. And I'm really frustrated, and I don't want to yell at you guys because that gets us nowhere. But at this point, it's been months of parents, not just parents, but teachers saying, we want back in the classroom, and you guys continuing not to listen. So what point does it have to get to that you guys will listen? Do we need to all have lawsuits against you? Do we need to recall the entire board? Do we need to sue the superintendent for you guys to hear what the parents and teachers are saying about getting our kids back? I think you need to answer, because this has gone on for almost a year that you're ignoring parents and teachers. And despite the last caller, the science proves it's safe. It is safe for our kids to be back.
And thank you for your comment. Our next comment will come from Jennifer Walls. When you are ready, Jennifer.
Hi, I am a parent to 2 boys that will be in San Juan in the fall. And I just think it's important that you guys know that I can name several families in the school district that have fled, that are moving or have put their children in private school, myself included. And these are families that have put a lot of time and money into your school district. And same as that for the previous speaker said, I don't want to yell, but we are very angry and disappointed. The science has proven this is safe, and you guys are giving us no data that says otherwise. And it's been over a year, and we are angry. I'm seeing teachers vacation. I'm seeing things that are infuriating. I know children that are sitting at home alone. This is enough, enough. We will not come back in droves. People are moving to El Dorado County. People are moving out of this county because of San Juan Unified. And the superintendent and the board needs to be held responsible. Thank you for your time.
And thank you for your comment. Our next comment will come from Kirk Bebo.
Sorry, accident.
No problem, Mr. Bebo. Our next comment will come from Jennifer Wall. No, Jennifer, I've already got to you. So Tracy Furman. Tracy, when you're ready.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, good. I am a parent of a special needs child. So I'm kind of on board with the other parents here, where his IEP is not being met, is specifically because he is being integrated into all-inclusive classrooms. So he's into general ed classes and the rest are self-contained. And his IEP is not being met. I'm kind of here advocating for that, as well as for the other kids being in school. The data does suggest that these children are low transmitters of the COVID virus. And I can appreciate everyone and respect everyone's opinion. However, I think it's easier for you to keep your child home if you don't want them in person, and that is an option. I have 3 older children that I did homeschool, so I know parents are not being forced to bring their children back into the school. Teachers who want to be there should be there. I can't get on board with your argument about switching teachers because my son is on his 3rd teacher since last March, and he is a special needs student. We need these kids back in school for all kinds of reasons. Most importantly, for their social and emotional well-being and becoming productive people when they do graduate. They need to be able to interact normally, and 2.5 hours a day for 2 days a week is just not efficient. It's not, I can't get on board with that. I hope you guys reconsider this model because it's going to fail. Thank you for your time.
And thank you for your comment. And President Viasquez, that was our last raised hand.
Okay, at this time, we will move it to board member questions or comments. Mr. Hernandez.
Mr. Allen, I think, as we hear our community speak, there's so many different topics to address, and it's a difficult time. But we are scheduled to return back to school. We all want to return back to school. Superintendent, I actually asked him in public when he thought we'd be back to school, and kind of put him on the spot. And he said back then, I think it was a month ago, he said that we think that we'd be back to school March 22nd. And it looks like if the trends continue to trend the way they're going, that is going to be reality for all levels. So so we are returning. Is it the model that we all want to come back to? Probably not. But I think there's a confusion, as many parents have addressed via calls or emails, about returning to 5 days a week. So, and I think that just needs to be very clear, the reason why. So, Mr. Allen, could we, based on the state requirements of the 6 feet, return to 5 days a week?
So the state requirements for 6 feet of space do not allow us enough space inside of our classrooms to accommodate every student. So if every student were to return, or the majority of students were to return, we would not be able to accommodate everybody with a 6 foot of space differential. And again, that 4 foot is very clear in the guidance that should be used under exceptional circumstances, including after implementing a hybrid schedule.
Thank you. And I think there's some confusion there. So basically, we could not return, even if we wanted to, because of space. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And do we have a forecast? Do we have any idea when that 6 feet might be changed?
It is part of the state guidance, and as we've learned, the guidance does change as conditions change. So there is not a sunsetting of that guidance when we hit a certain tier necessarily. I would expect that as we progress through tiers and conditions continue to improve, that the state would update that guidance, and our local health officer would then follow any new guidance that is put out.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I hope that clarifies for some of our parents that think that we can return if we wanted to, and the reality is that we cannot. So I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Ms. Costa?
I too have received many calls and emails and have said the same thing, that this distance of 6 feet makes it impossible for us to go back to 5 days a week. And that has been actually since we first started this horrific pandemic. And we did notify parents that we would be doing the 2.5 hours, 2 days a week when we did the last set of surveys. So with that, I know it's not what people would ideally want. I don't think any of us have wanted anything that has happened during the pandemic. We are trying to provide as many services as possible to students. And I really want to make it as clear as possible. The emails that I've received that say that students aren't getting any services. We are so blessed that our students are receiving lessons from classroom teachers. And I wanted and have followed up with people who have emailed me to say, our teachers are teaching students every single day, and we are so blessed to have that happening. Now to get to go back to class and to interact with teachers in person, I think is the next step. Superintendent Kern has made it really clear that the intention is that in the fall of next year, we will go back to 5 days a week. So we are moving forward. I know it is not at the pace that most people have wished for, but I really want to keep reiterating our students are learning and they are receiving services from highly qualified teachers. And so as we go forward, I believe that every step has been taken to make sure that our students are safe and that our students are receiving services. Please be sure that you're reading your mail. Schools are now starting to send out invitations to parents for orientation meetings. And this is another opportunity to make sure that students feel comfortable coming back to school. The languaging that parents use and that staffs use will make all the difference in the world in how kids approach this next step as we go back. So we are a team. We are a team of teachers and parents. And in the past, we have been a unified team around that. And I hope we can get back to that point again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Costa. Dr. McKibben?
So if I can understand that one of the reasons why we have chosen the model that we have is so that students can stay with the same teacher that they've had for this year, regardless of the mode of which they were learning, distance learning, in person, and so forth. So that was our primary motivator in terms of the model that we chose. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
I suspect, and that was what the survey said, that they wanted to stay with a particular teacher in our earlier surveys. Is that correct?
We did hear from folks about the importance of continuing with the teacher we had. So that's correct as well.
Thank you.
Ms. Creason?
Okay, so some of this is going to be redundant and some of it's going way back to the slides. And so let's go way back to the slides for a second. I wanted to ask a question about the site safety, not just the site safety plan implementation. I know that a whole lot changed. You know, if we're going to open in purple, then you have to do all these other things that we didn't necessarily do yet. So I just wanted, I know that we got an update and there's things that are in process. I'm just wondering if staff can just give a relative timeline for implementation of these safety plans that are being worked out.
So all those safety plans are published on the school websites, on the district site at the link that was provided there. I believe it's COVID safety plans. I'll click back really quick. COVID safety plans, sanjuan.edu/COVID safety plans. Those plans are implemented now. So our district COVID safety plan is a document we have had. This is just an update of that document. So as we continue to change practice and process, this document reflects those latest changes as well as the latest guidance from the state. And then with our COVID prevention plans that were site specific, those are new documents, but again, they identify things that are happening on school sites. So if there are things that need to be done because of those plans, that is already being implemented now.
Okay, so there may be some things that aren't quite done yet, but they're being implemented now. And we have, if we hit best case scenario for returning back to campus, I don't remember what that date was, but it was prior to break, we'd be good to go.
That is correct. There's nothing from needing to put something into a plan or execute on something in that plan that would prevent us from returning once we are in red for 5 days.
Awesome. And I know that there was discussion last meeting. There's you know, a state website that says that we have no plan, which we noted is not accurate. We have plans, but there's all these other reasons why it doesn't say that. Has that been resolved?
So now that these plans have been posted on the website, which is the actual question the state asks us every week, that should change on their next data update, because we have indeed indicated that our plans are there, and the state map will not only indicate that they're there, but provide a link to them as well.
Got it. Thank you. So I'm not going to go too far in what my colleagues have already covered about the 5 days. I mean, I think it's very important that we separate the two issues of returning back to campuses 5 days a week full time, and if we do or do not like the hybrid model. Those are two completely different conversations. And as has already been, I know we got a lot of emails about, will you stand up for? I will not stand up against state or county guidance. That just will never, ever happen. Will I question it? Maybe. You know, will I ask questions? Again, I am not a doctor or a scientist. I have to trust the experts. But I will never ever say that I know better than that and put lives in my hands. You know, I'm so not qualified for that. So I just want to make that clear and be responsive, be, you know, transparent and responsive to those words. It's not on us. It's not our decision, but that also raises something that I've been visiting some PTA meetings, and something that has come up quite a bit is, you know, it's not super clear where decisions are made or how they're made or where they come from. And I get that. I mean, it's such a complicated system, even when we're not in a pandemic. And now there's so many players that, you know, and the guidance changes. So I get that. But I really hope that we can walk away tonight with an understanding of that decision isn't our decision unless we were to completely blow guidelines, which we just can't do. Regarding the hybrid model, how many days left do we have in the school year?
60, I believe.
60?
Yeah.
Is that including weekends and break?
No, we have 45 days of instruction after spring break. So if we were to return on the 22nd, we would have a total of 50 days.
Okay, so 50 days. You know, I've been pretty transparent with, I'm not a fan of the model either. As a working mom, I know how I'm going to drop my kid off. I don't know how I'm going to pick him up. So I hear that and I get that, but I also understand and hear why the decision was made. I understand how we got here. And these are one of those things, sometimes you have to listen to understand, and even if you don't necessarily agree. And I don't love the model, you know, 100% I don't, but am I going to fight against that model for 50 days of instruction? No. And the reason why is because I am laser focused on fall. You know, fall that's where there's a leverage point for something to be different. Sure, you know, we can, you know, raise hell, and probably shouldn't have said that, sorry. I'm not in it for the show. You know, I just want to make it clear. Like, do I really believe something will change with that? No, I don't, especially for 50 more days. And again, not that I 100% am behind it, but I get why the decision was made.
Ms. Creason, can I speak to that too? And we actually had those discussions because it would even be more challenging for our working parents if they had to do that 4 days a week. And that's what we've seen from schools that have done the AM PM schedule, where some kids would go in the morning for 2.5 hours or in the afternoon for 2.5 hours. As we had discussions with other districts, that was a challenge that they were faced with. Not as big of a challenge in some of our affluent communities, where they may have parents that are, or a parent or two parents, that maybe one that's staying at home, that are working from home, but definitely a challenge when you have one or two working parents. So that could have actually, if we had done more days, along with the challenge of shifting teachers and shifting staff, that would have been 4 days a week where people would have had to deal with those transportation issues.
Yeah, I hear you. I think that some of the feedback that is, and I think some of the feedback is they could be at school, even if it is for 2 days, for a longer amounts of time. So for 4 hours, so you're dropping them off at drop-off time and picking them up at lunch.
Well, if we were to do that, then we would have had to have teachers that were just distance learning teachers. And so even if we had done just 2 days a week, so I would teach half of my class, really Monday, Tuesday, what are those for 4 hours? If I was teaching the other half of my class Thursday, Friday, then really I'm only seeing my students 2 days a week. In our model, when people say 2 days, 2.5 hours, that's not accurate because I'm going to see my students in the morning, but I'm going to connect with my students 4 days a week because I'm going to see them in the afternoon. And so that we learned that from some of the high school districts. We have a member on cabinet whose son goes to school for a longer period, 2 days a week, and then 3 days a week, he has no connection at all with his teachers. So we were also trying to avoid those scenarios to where we're at least going to see, we wanted kids to have a connection with their teacher 4 days a week. It'll be 2 in person, 2 virtually as well. That's better than, I think that's better than 2 days a week for a longer period of time and 3 days where they're just completely on their own. So.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate the rationale and I understand why there's agreement, disagreement, and the reasons. I hope this does not come off as a pushback because I'm not going to push on this, but I'm going to push really, really hard for fall. So actually, that's a good segue. As folks heard, we're looking at 5 days full-time for the fall. We're going to plan that way. We're going to staff that way. But what will kill that plan is if case numbers rise or if guidance doesn't allow us to be 5 days full-time. So this really gets into why am I laser focusing on next year? And I'm just we're going to do the best we can with these next 50 days. As we have seen, guidance changes all the time, right? We really do have it. We have a place where we can direct our questions, our thoughts, our time. And it's not here when it comes to that issue. We don't create the guidance that we have to follow. So to ensure that we are able to either open up, so two totally different issues. Hopefully the guidance will allow us to be full-time 5 days a week. And we need to be laser focused on safely doing that. Separate issue, I hate to even say this out loud because I don't want it to happen. We have to go back in hybrid. I'm laser focused on it not being this model and that we will have an opportunity to talk out something else. So Superintendent, can you confirm that we wouldn't automatically go back to this model should we have to?
We wouldn't because we would develop a system from the start of the year onward. The challenge is as a district that really appreciates choice, families would have to make a commitment for the entire year to either I'm going to stay in distance learning or I'm going to return to in-person. Then we would have designed a system from day one that would have staff who are doing distance learning, and we wouldn't have to be shuffling the entire deck during the course of the year. So if for some reason that were to start, we would be able to pivot really based on, we're gonna leave the teachers that are at the schools and then hire additional teachers to do distance learning, homeschool, or those other programs. It's kind of hard to try and design a program in the middle of this. And again, when we were looking at the options, I said this earlier, we weren't even talking, no one was 5 days a week. We were looking at 2 models. There are other districts that opened earlier than us that saw, and we've heard people tonight, we're gonna leave. We've seen a loss. There's a local district that lost 5% of their enrollment at the start of the year. That would have been like us losing 2,000 students. We weren't even anywhere near that. And we're still not near that. So have folks left? Absolutely. But I think it's much different when you design a system that we can look forward to compared to trying to change it in the middle of it and the impacts. And I think it's kind of good to even talk through like some of those other models, because until you hear them and you hear the response, like kids being alone 3 days a week. So you went for 4 hours a day instead of 2.5. That's not good. And we really talked that that's not great. And we worked through all of those. And so again, we are looking full steam ahead that we are going to staff our schools as if we're back. If for some reason we would have to go back, the hybrid will look differently. I want to say to folks too, and people have alluded to this, we can't ease up on this. Placer County was down to 6 cases per 100,000 last week, and they thought they were going to open up to red. They went to 7.7 today in the release. They're going the wrong direction. And is it because their schools are open? Is it because they're easing up? And so if we really desire our students to be back fully next year, we need to continue to be disciplined and do everything we can to lower cases. More and more folks vaccinated. And then we see those cases continue to drop. And that's my hopes, that's my wish. And when people talk about the fact that it doesn't affect kids, it doesn't the same level, but it does affect adults. And we have adults who teach kids, and we have adults who drive buses, and we have adults who work in the cafeterias and in the offices. And we have to be concerned about those adults as well. So I don't want that to sound callous, like we not concerned about the kids, but we have to be concerned about all.
No, I appreciate that. And I agree, the adults have to be there with the kids. And don't get me wrong, I'm sending my kids going back and we're going to see how that goes. But there's a lot we don't know about the impacts on kids. It's my understanding that they're finding enlarged hearts in athletes and kids and just some weird stuff. So I think a lot's going to transpire in the months and years to come. Yeah. So, okay, I'm almost done. As I mentioned before, I have been joining a lot of PTO meetings to answer questions and just hear feedback. There's a series of questions that I've written down, and I had to let people know that I would get back to them. I just want to acknowledge I have not forgotten. I've been talking with staff, getting those answers. And I was also told the superintendent shared that some of those questions and answers will be added to an existing FAQs page on the website. Did I get that right? Yeah. So I just want to give folks a heads up about that. Just want to ask the community, I know a lot of folks know how to get a hold of us. If I keep hearing that there's districts that have opened 5 days full time, why can't we? So if I could get names, like tell me what districts this is happening in Sac County, because again, we have different rules in this county. We can't go by Placer County rules. So if there are places in Sac County that are doing this, please let me know, because as the superintendent said, I'm not aware of that. And so if you know something that we don't, I really want to know. Can I keep going? I have a couple more. Okay. I am concerned about the comments that we received tonight about IEPs and on-site services. I'm not expecting staff to be able to answer that right this second, but I'm hoping we can get an update on all that.
Yeah, I will have special ed staff follow up with a BC, and then maybe at the next meeting, we could include that in a staff update as well.
Got it. Okay. I want to acknowledge a comment that was made, and I've got a couple emails on this too about the desire to have another survey. And I think that there was a misunderstanding on the purpose, and I understand why, but a misunderstanding on the purpose of the surveying. The surveying wasn't a vote if we're going to go back or not. It was really, and correct me if I'm wrong, staff or anybody, it really was a tool to determine what staffing plan would need to be, to see where people were at, not necessarily, it was not, I removed the word necessarily, it was not a vote. Did I get that right, the purpose of the survey?
You did. The survey was to collect data that would help inform the decision-making process. It was not intended as a vote because unfortunately, we would not necessarily be able to honor any given option depending on the numbers selecting each option.
Okay, thank you for that. And I just wanted that clarification, and I understand why it's confusing. But I just want to make that clear because I think folks want to be able to vote again, and they're asking for that. So I don't want those requests. I don't want it to seem as if we're just ignoring that request. It was never a vote. But the good news about that is, again, going back to the purposes was to gauge staffing levels. Right now, there will be, we have to wait a couple more weeks, and I know it sucks, but there will be that choice. People that want to go back to in-person, limited as it may be, will have that choice to do so, as well as folks being able to stay in distance. And so the goal of the survey was met for staffing purposes. I understand folks might not like that, but I want it just to be clear what was the original purpose. I think I might actually be done. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Creason. And I align myself with a lot of the comments already shared. I think all of my colleagues have shared something that I am in agreement with. And in fact, I don't think I heard anything that I disagreed with. So I'll just say that. On the whole, the only thing I wanted to clarify as well is, there is the state map as a resource that indicates county by county what instructional model our school partners are in. And so that's a resource available both to the community, but to us as well for review. And that's where you'll see and confirm that, within Sacramento County, there are not any models back in the full time. And I also will just confirm that the data was updated on Monday, so yesterday. And I also received a little bit of email traffic at the outset of the schools map dashboard that was released by the state, and it now does reflect what Mr. Allen discussed, and that's that the COVID safety plan is now linked there directly as of yesterday. And that continues to be an ongoing process. I think districts are surveyed either once a week or twice a week, and then the numbers are or the information and any change in status is then reflected on that map. And so that was a resource launched by the state last month and will continue to be kind of the main source of information used to track at a statewide level what the different instructional models are, what the funding levels have been related to COVID. It also includes information related to whether or not districts are providing testing and have their plans, et cetera. And that brings me to just a point that I'll make, and that's that there was, some comments around there not being, not being any changes to address COVID. And I just want to highlight, right, that there was mentioned the orientations for both parents and students, because it's not going to look the same. Like, we're not just going back to a regular classroom setting. And so between the distancing and between the testing, which I'm also excited about, and I will also just give an enthusiastic shout out to Dr. O'Neill, who has returned to help us engage in that effort and make sure it'll be successful. These are all key components, along with universal mask wearing, that will ensure that we can do this safely and that we can maintain this instructional model in a safe way through the remainder of the year. And the only thing that I will be a little bit repetitive on is I'm full-fledged fall opening. I mean, particularly when, having been engaged in this effort for now a year in terms of COVID response, I'm knocking on wood, I cannot imagine a scenario in which in the fall we haven't at that point gotten to a situation where the majority of the restrictions are lifted. I mean, I think my one exception would be mask wearing. I think that might be around to stay. But other than that, but what we're seeing already, like, we are seeing a true and very clear impact of the vaccination rates throughout the state play an impact on the incidence of transmission across the state. So I'm fully confident in that. Again, I'm not gonna go jinxing anything, but just want to make it clear that I'm on that train too. Full time in the fall, that's where we're headed. And in the meantime, it'll continue to take teamwork that we've been doing for the last year now to make our instructional model work for the rest of the year. And I'm confident we can do that. I don't have any additional comments at this point. I think we are good. So I want to thank staff for the report. And I want to thank my colleagues for the discussion, as well as the individuals who participated for comment, for joining us. And with that, we are at item I3.
President Villescaz, as we transition, we do have a couple of repeat commenters who have raised their hand. I'd just like to remind them that they get one opportunity to offer a comment, and we do have a comment period at the end of the meeting in which they are welcome to offer a comment at that time as well.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Yes, that is item L, visitor comments towards the end of the meeting, and that is general comment available for anyone who would wish to. So we are at the second interim budget report. And Mr. Stevens, thank you for joining us this evening, and please begin when you are ready.
Good evening, President Villescaz, members of the board, Superintendent Kern, and Mrs. Cunningham. This evening, the superintendent is recommending the board review and approve the 2020-21 second interim budget report and the budget revisions that are listed therein. The school district is certifying this budget as this interim report as positive, with the understanding of the fiduciary responsibility that comes with that. The second interim report reflects actual revenue and expenditure activity through January 31st. And then we take that benchmark date and we project or forecast the balance of the year from there. This evening, I'll be going through a brief presentation, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions following that presentation. I might need some help with the.
We're taking a short pause to address some technical items.
This worked a couple hours ago, so. First of all, I'd like to go through our core messages that we're sharing this evening with you regarding this. As you know, the governor released his proposed budget in January, and the fiscal health of the state is much better than expected at that time, and it continues to be healthy. Although it's important for us to remember that the economy in the state and the country is very volatile, specifically here in California, due to the fact that much of our revenue is dependent on capital gains and personal income tax of the wealthy. The governor's proposal includes a 3.84% compounded cost of living adjustment. And let me explain where that number comes from. This year, the COLA, the cost of living adjustment, was statutorily required to be 2.31%. That's a formula that's driven based on numbers that come from the federal government over an 8-quarter period. Again, this year we were statutorily required to receive a 2.31% COLA. That did not occur this year. We did not receive a COLA this year. Next year, there is a projected COLA of 1.50%. And that number is not yet final. We have received 7 of the required 8 data points to calculate that COLA. So we're getting very close to knowing that number. But when you compound the effect of the 2.31 and the 1.5%, the result is a 3.84% COLA. So the governor is really proposing to restore the COLA that we should have gotten this year and add it to next year. So that's where that number comes from. In addition, in his proposal, and Mr. Allen talked about this, there are really 2 pots of money. One of them is listed here that totals $6.6 billion, $4.6 billion here on this slide, plus the $2 billion that can be found in Senate Bill 86 that was recently passed by the legislature here in California, and of course supported by the governor. One of the things that we're still facing is the deferrals that are impacting the district even this current year, 2020-21. Those deferrals remain in place. Some people are confused with this because the governor proposed to eliminate about 2/3 of the deferrals, but not until next year, not this year. So I think some people are confused with that. The deferrals just for San Juan in this year are about $60 million. So of our $330 million or so that we have coming through the LCFF, about $60 million of it we will not receive this year, we'll receive next year. So that's a big impact. So it looks like our budget's in good shape, but one of the concerns that we have is cash management, because for the remaining part of this year, we're basically being paid with IOUs, and we'll start getting some of those IOUs in July, but those will be stretched into November. So one of the things that we are trying to deal with is cash management. I also wanted to point out that beginning this year, because of difficulty for us to obtain required forms from families throughout the district did not meet the 55% threshold to qualify for a concentration grant For targeted students, I think we're at about 53%. That is a 3-year rolling average. And so we don't believe we'll qualify for the concentration grant even next year, even if we do rebound back and be able and get above 55 or 56%, which is what we would expect. Next slide. Can you do that? Can you just do that? Okay, thanks. Tonight, again, we are recommending that you review and approve the second interim budget report. That's the legal requirement tonight. It is due to the County Office of Education by March 15th. Next slide. I wanted to give kind of a general overview of some of the stimulus money, federal stimulus money, and even some state stimulus money that we have received or will receive, because it is kind of confusing because we have received several different pots of money. Let's start with the LLM, the learning loss mitigation. That has a deadline, expenditure deadline of, we have to have ours by April 7th of this year. You can see our allocation was about $26.7 million. We have not received all of that yet. We've received about 25 million. We have either spent or obligated the entire amount. So we have obligated it by the required April 7th deadline. You can see some sample uses for those funds in at kind of at the 30,000 foot level. The next pot of money comes from the federal government as well. We call it ESSER, the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief. We do call that ESSER 1 because you'll note that there is also an ESSER 2. ESSER 1 has a deadline of September 2022. We were allocated about $11.1 million. We've only received $3.2 million. Now, it's my understanding the state has received all of this money from the federal government. They are reviewing expenditures along the way. We have not had any issues with any of the expenditures that we've submitted to the state. I believe that they might just be a little bit backed up, or they may very well be using some of this cash to meet some of their needs. But we have obligated about $9 million of that $11 million. And again, you can see some of the sample uses there. The federal stimulus that was passed a couple months ago in December, the previous administration, we call that ESSER 2. That has a deadline of September 2023. Our allocation is nearly $50.7 million. We have not obligated any of that yet. And of course, we have not received any of that yet as well. Now, this was prepared about 10 days ago. And since this was prepared, we have two other pots of money that I'd like to talk about. One would be state stimulus dollars that come through Senate Bill 86 that was passed just recently and signed by Governor Newsom, or will be shortly. That is the $6.6 billion that we talked about, that Mr. Allen talked about, and I briefly touched on. Our allocation for that $6.6 billion is about $37 million. So we would add that box below this, $37 million in state stimulus funds. And then finally, the most recent, what we might end up calling ESSER 3, federal stimulus package that the Senate, the US Senate passed last week. Congress is expected to pass it tomorrow and then go to President Biden's desk. That is the largest stimulus package that we will have received to date. And our estimate allocation for that I've received from Congressman Vera's office is about $130 million for our district. Some of the planning factors we use to build the budget, and we have highlighted some of the changes here that are in kind of a greenish blue, but you can see some of the changes that we've had, particularly in our average daily attendance, that are different than the forecasts we had when the budget was adopted. You can see that our ADA is expected to decline over the next couple years down to under 37,000, 36,885. You can see some of those declines. We had thought our ADA might remain fairly flat. We have received some demographic information from our consultants. This again is something that changes all the time. We have had some obviously extraordinary events here that may have affected our ADA and enrollment. We believe that some TK and kindergartners are, with, for lack of a better term, are being red-shirted, to use a sports term, red-shirted this year. And in fact, we may have a bigger kindergarten class or TK class next fall. That's what we're hoping for. So some of these numbers may bounce up a little bit. You can see the changes to the COLA there on the next line down. Originally, we had a 0% COLA projected for the next 2 years. And now you can see COLAs next year at 3.84% and the following year, 1.28%. The other thing I'd like to point out is our pension rates, STRS and PERS. STRS rates are going to be a little bit lower in the next couple years than we had originally projected, but PERS rates are projected to be a little bit higher than we expected. And you can see the adjustments there to our medical insurance increases over the next couple of years as well. Next slide, please. This is a report that we like to share that has all of our major funds going down the left column. We usually like to look at the unrestricted general fund near the top. You can see that we usually split it out, and we'll go to the next slide soon, but the base grant is expected to have a surplus this year of over $8 million. The supplemental grant, mainly because we're not actually going to get the concentration grant this year, about a $1.2 million deficit. So when you look at those two together, the unrestricted general fund will have a surplus of about $7.2 million. The restricted general fund, a deficit of about 7.6. So just a small deficit when you look at the general fund as a whole. Some of the other funds, as we move down, I'd like to point out those funds that really rely on participation fees, namely cafeteria. Participation's way down in our nutrition service program. And you can see a large deficit projected there at $2.7 million. I think it may actually grow from there. The other fund right above it is the child development or the early childhood education fund that also relies a lot on participation fees. Obviously, participation is down there as well. So we're projecting a deficit there that we will prop up either with base funds or one-time funds as appropriate. Next slide. Here we'll look just at the unrestricted general fund. You can see how the year has unfolded left to right. For example, when the budget was adopted in June, we projected our revenues to be $345 million. Since then, the governor had restored some of the funding. We thought we were going to have an 8% cut to funding, and actually we were held kind of harmless. So that was basically the difference there of about $30 million. Since the Budget Act, that revenue figure has held pretty steady, $374 million. You can see the expenses there, $308 million. Other financing. We usually go to that blue line, surplus deficit. You can see clear back in June, we were projecting a deficit of $24 million. Now we're projecting a surplus, and we have been for the last few reports in the $7 to $8 million range. Currently, about $7.25 million surplus projected for this current year. You can see how that ripples down through our fund balance. The next slide would indicate also the unrestricted general fund, but we really look at the division between the base grant and the supplemental and concentration. So really, this is our operating budget. And if you look at the difference between when the budget was adopted in June and now the second interim in March, you can see how things have improved since last June. Again, the base grant in that blue line is projecting a surplus of about $8.4 million in the middle of that second box, with the concentration grant a deficit of about 1.2. So the total is about a $7.25 million surplus. Let's look at the MYP, the multi-year projections, 2021-22 and 22-23. Again, that blue line surplus deficit is probably the most important right there. Thank you very much. You can see that we're projecting a surplus next year of about $11.4 million as of now. That's mainly due to that 3.84% COLA that we're now expecting to get. And then the following year, where we're also getting another small COLA of a little over 1%, we're still projecting a small surplus of about $500,000. So the latest news, obviously, this is changing probably more rapidly than any other time during probably my 29, 30-year career. Things change daily, really. We'll be watching very closely the economy. We'll be watching how things progress downtown at the Capitol here in California. There are some legislators who would like to help us with our cash management and eliminate those deferrals, even starting this year, if the state indeed has the cash to do so this year, or even do a better job of eliminating all of the deferrals next year. Right now, they've only proposed to eliminate about 2/3 of those $12 billion worth of deferrals. That third bullet, we could probably adjust now. When I put this together, I thought that our share of this most recent federal package might be about $80 million. And now I hear that it might be, in the neighborhood of $130 million. And after this, I think we go to the next slide real quickly. And these are some of the actions that we'll take. Again, we'll be watching what's going on downtown, continue to monitor the economy locally and at a national and even global perspective. And we will align our resources accordingly. It's my goal as the chief business officer of the district to help the superintendent and you make wise strategic decisions with this one-time money that will be infused into our system, and to use it to leverage ourselves for the future, but also to use it for the primary intended purpose, and that is to help students recover the learning loss and accelerate their learning as we move forward, and to use those dollars for that intended purpose. And that's all I have. Be happy to take some questions. I would like to thank the fiscal department for their assistance in putting this document together, which will be able to be found online. Each of you, I believe, have received a copy. Again, this will be sent to the County Office of Education tomorrow morning if you approve it. And thank you for your support and all you do to help this district be fiscally stable and long-term thinking. I really appreciate that. It's made my job a lot easier to have that kind of support and that kind of perspective from you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stevens, for the presentation. We're going to turn it to see if there's public comment, and then we'll turn it to board discussion. And I imagine we might invite you back up to answer some questions. Thank you. Mr. Allen, do we have any public comment at this time?
At this time, we do not have any hands raised, nor have we had any items submitted for this item.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. I will then turn it to my colleagues. Do any board members have any questions or comments on Mr. Stevens' report? Mr. Hernandez.
Mr. Stevens, we just want to thank you for your report. We appreciate the way you break it down for us, breaking that 1-inch material to the presentation that you do that helps us understand this very diverse budget that we have in our district. And it's great to see that we have a leader like you that guides us and helps us to be able to have these positive outcomes in our budget. So thank you so much. We appreciate your effort and your staff for all that you do. And just wanted to publicly thank you for that.
Thank you very much. We're proud that I think this meeting marks our 7th anniversary of, and Ms. Costa will probably remind us of that too. I think she's happy about that too. Our 7th anniversary of having positive certification with our budgets. Same time that Mr. Kern was made superintendent.
Dr. McKibben.
You just answered my question, and how many years has it been? Also, you answered my questions related to deferrals, so I don't have any anymore.
Comment, just make a comment and build off of what Ken said. I so appreciate his statement around with these one-time funds and making really wise decisions so that as we continue to go in years, long after even, Kent's not here, we're still in a very good situation. And I think that kind of mindset helps us avoid some tumultuous times. So that's been the mindset we've had, and I think it's benefited the district and with the support of the board. So thanks for that, Ken.
Ms. Costa?
I just want to thank you for your leadership and your willingness to explain any financial question or issue in terms that a layperson can understand. And I think that has been something that has really made a difference for the board and for our community. So thank you very much for your leadership. It will be greatly missed. And I too am very proud of the number of years of positive certifications. That's something to be proud of, I think. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Creason?
I appreciate the breakdown too, and just knowing how many districts surrounding us are living with tremendous challenges. It's so every time I hear positive, it just really makes me very, very happy because it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and I know that's something that is discussed all the time. We don't use one-time funding for ongoing costs, and sometimes hard decisions have to be made because of that. But they're the right decisions, so the money's good at the end of the day. So I appreciate all of your hard work too, and you will be missed. Just a couple of points I wanted to make really quickly is I really appreciated the slide with, a breakdown, slide number 4, a breakdown of the one-time federal stimulus. I know we're getting a whole lot of money, we're getting a whole lot of money too, a whole lot of questions about COVID income and expenses. I could just foresee there's going to be some questions about that slide because for example, the learning loss mitigation line just doesn't include certain words I think people are going to be looking for, like explaining, and not to say it hasn't been spent on that. I can foresee the questions that are coming. So it might be worth somewhere down the line doing a deeper dive on what's being funded. Because I know that we're doing all kinds of work in planning for learning loss mitigation and accelerated learning, but it's not clear what that means. So I'm just going to throw that out there. And also I noticed, and I know that we're doing the work, but it's just not demonstrated in here. So we may want to figure out a way to just inform folks, like the mental health supports and social emotional, which I know that we're doing, but it's just not reflected. And I think we have to figure out a way to share that info.
Yeah, you might remember there was a report in December that was kind of called the new LCAP plan. It was a different acronym, but a little bit confusing because it was also LCAP. I think we might have an update with that sometime that would really do the deep dive that you're asking about and perhaps community members are asking about. This is intended to be kind of the 30,000 foot level, but I think that kind of a presentation is probably best delivered by those who are really spending the money. We account for the spending in our department, but they might be able to really answer that question in the kind of detail that you're looking for and how we're spending these dollars really with boots on the ground. And so I appreciate that question.
Yeah, I like the way you said that, Kent, by those that are spending it. I think that would be a wise way to present it. And I think that when folks have specific questions, ask it, because when it's a really general question, it's really hard because this, as Saul said, if they really want it, they can go through this because it's probably in there, but it's challenging to find it. And so just really what exactly they're looking for. I think one of the things that we've really done the last number of years as well with Kent's leadership is in our budget review committee with one of our labor groups, they ask very specific questions. And so it makes it very easy for us to provide the specifics, but kind of general questions make it like, where do we go off of this? And I feel like some of those questions that we're getting are so general that it's like, I don't even know where to start on some of those. So I think the more specific that people can be, it helps us actually provide meaningful information.
No, and that makes a lot of sense. And some people just don't know what they don't know if they're not working in accounting. So as someone that works with budgets and accounting, what would be awesome is a financial that demonstrated the income, just a financial. What is the income we're getting specific with a COVID earmark, and what are the expenses, that are being charged? Like, how does that work? How is the in and the out? Maybe a financial, and I know that's going to come with other questions, but I don't even think that people know what to ask. They just know money's happening. They know it's coming in and they don't understand how it's going out. And so so I hear what you're saying. Because it's hard to answer a question when there's, you're not clear on what you're answering, but if there's some way, and I don't even know if that's possible, because I know that some of the expenditures are very likely going to existing accounts, right? Or existing line items. So it's super clear cut. It's like, okay, the income's happening, but what dollar went to one account, I know could get very, very complicated.
Yeah,
So-
we are tracking it by a specific resource code. You're familiar with account strings, right? So we are tracking it to that level that you're asking for. I just think it's best described by those who are actually spending the money, because they can talk about the efficacy of how it's being spent. So, and the rationale behind that.
Yep.
So I kind of see it as maybe an update to that report that we had in December that did talk about how we're spending these kind of funds.
Yep. No, I agree with you 100%, because I think folks will probably get a whole lot more out of it when you hear it's not just a financial with a bunch of numbers, right? Some people, they'll dig it, you know what I mean? It gives them, but I agree with what you're
We
saying.
could give an accounting report and tell that, but without the story behind it, I don't think it really serves much of the intended purpose. Yeah.
Agreed. This is the last point I'm going to make, and this always hurts my heart every time I hear it, about our goal to get to concentration dollars, which of course we need the concentration dollars, but just I want to acknowledge how sad it is that it's a goal to have more kids struggle. For folks that maybe didn't understand or catch what that's about, it's the number or the percentage of our kids that are eligible for free or reduced lunch. And I'm so glad that we have that programming. I don't mean this, I hope this doesn't come off in a way I don't mean it to be. But the idea that we're wanting to increase that number really is of course, we need to do that as a district so we have more resources to support our kids. 100%, but just generally more broadly, it's a very sad society we live in where that is a goal. And once we get out of the terrible situation we're in, I'm really looking forward to getting back to the conversations about what are we going to do to make sure that our kids have meaningful, real access to economic mobility and high road jobs. So as we're going through the years to come, that number drops and we're okay with it, not the other way around.
That number also includes EL learners and foster youth.
Oh, thank you.
And so that's
Okay.
where we've really seen the growth in the number of years,
Thank
is
you for
as
that
we've seen the refugees come in, that number has been boosted significantly. And so it could be that our low SES count goes up, but that number continues to go up because of, just our EL learners increasing as we see a changing demographic in our district.
There are really 4 targeted groups there.
Okay.
High poverty, which is measured by free and reduced lunches, English learners, homeless, and foster youth. So, and it's not, and it's not that I agree. It's not that we want more families to struggle. We want better information from those families so that we can account for that. And this year was unusual because usually there's some incentive for those families to fill out those forms.
Yeah.
Because when they fill those forms out, their kids get a free lunch. This year, those rules were waived by the federal government. So all students were fed for free. So it really kind of took that incentive away for people to fill out those forms that some people see as a burden just to fill out. So it was a good thing that all students were fed for free this year, and that was waived. And we just found out a couple days ago that that's waived now through September of this year at the federal level. But it kind of took away that incentive that we usually have, that hook that we have to get families to fill that form out, which drives our percentage number up. And it's kind of counterintuitive actually, but.
Yeah, no, and I get it. It's not like we're trying to push this. I get it, but it's just sad, and I had to acknowledge it. And thank you for the clarification of the 4 groups that the percentage is based off of, and 3 out of 4, I mean, are negative crisis outcomes, really. High poverty, foster youth, and or foster, you know what I mean, and homelessness. I mean, 3 of those are crisis outcomes. So it's something I really look forward to getting back to those conversations. So thank you. I appreciate you. I am going to really miss you. I love the way you do money and just the way you explain things and break it
Maybe I
down.
won't go too far, so. thank
I'm
you.
gonna write that down. It's going in the notes.
Well, and I'll just clarify, I don't believe this is the last time I know your tenure is coming to an end with us. However, I don't believe this is the last time that you'll be before us. And if it is, I'll have to find a different way for you to come back. So just to clarify, we will see you again, Mr. Stevens. But I also want to just publicly acknowledge your leadership and say thank you very much. I mean, over the last 4+ years, I don't think that there's anybody in the business that could have gotten these numbers to look the way they look. And really what they demonstrate is ongoing financial health for our community and for our district. And so I thank you for your leadership on that. I will clarify a few things. And one is, I think there's a little bit of discussion around this already, but, the goal, of course, is not to have a significant number of our families in crisis and in poverty, but the goal is to make sure that we are appropriately reflecting the reality of what our families are living with and dealing with so that they get their fair share. I mean, that's how we've decided to allocate funding in the state of California. And so we want to make sure that we are fighting for all of those resources because that translates to services. And that's just to say one thing. I mean, I know there's been a lot of movement, even just in the last 10 days, but I'm going to take a moment to celebrate what really truly is a giant public policy victory, which is in the last deal that I think is still waiting to be confirmed by Congress. We're really seeing the largest increase in support and funding for our families through the increase in child tax credit. And it's something that's going really under acknowledged. And frankly, I think that if it was a high profile item, it wouldn't have gotten done. But the fact that many of our families with children will receive a regular source of income on an annual basis is truly incredible. And I, for one, am really excited about what that means for our families on the ground. I think it's like I said, a really big victory that many people have fought for years to get done. It's going a little bit under the radar, but I'm here to celebrate it. And I'm looking forward to what that means in terms of positive outcomes for our families. I also just wanted to ask one question, and that's on slide 5. And I wanted to see what your thoughts were on the medical insurance increase piece, and if you had any thoughts to share on kind of how that has or has not matched up. I mean, I've spent the last 8 or 9 months now wearing my other hat, talking to very nervous chief business officers for school districts across the state about what it means, particularly for those in a financing model such as ours, the self-insured financing model. And I'm just curious and welcome you to expand on kind of why, what your thoughts are on why, it's 1.5% instead of the 6.5, and then what you think might be driving it in the out years.
Yeah, I don't oversee the benefits department anymore. That's under the human resource department. So I've kind of lost some of my connection with Kaiser Permanente and Western Health, our two healthcare providers, as you know. This year, I believe, in 2021, while you would have expected a lot of increased costs due to the pandemic, there was a lot of other procedures maybe postponed, other medical procedures, unfortunately, in some cases. People could not get appointments. They were maybe fearful of going in to hospitals and medical facilities. So they were postponing some of the procedures. Some of that might have been elective, some maybe not elective procedures. So I think that our claims, medical claims system-wide, were down a little bit over the last 12 months, which is probably why that our renewal rate was about 1.5% is all. And you would have thought during a pandemic, our health costs would have gone up, but a lot of the other procedures were put to the side.
No, I think that's helpful and that's spot on. And I think that definitely kind of justifies the out year request. And I mean, it's consistent with what we're hearing in the field. It's just putting what that dollar implication is to that.
And we think that's going to maybe trickle through a little bit with our next renewal for 2021-22. But then we think, by 22-23, we'll see more quote unquote normal. We might even see a little bit rebound, but these are the most recent numbers that we've gotten. I usually talk to those providers, especially Kaiser Permanente. I have a close relationship with those folks, and they kind of have given us these numbers for now. Of course, they're constantly changing as well, but we'll get that renewal for 21-22 here in a few months. So
We actually had that conversation in cabinet on Monday or yesterday as well about what were going to be the impacts, even related to testing, the other factors that as it ends up getting billed to those carriers, we'll likely see an increase. So those are things that we're aware of and we're having those conversations.
Yeah.
I appreciate the insight, and I know, the state and the Department of Managed Healthcare will continue to do its functions of rate review and all of that kind of stuff. But it's just, I always find your insight insightful. So appreciate the look into that.
One of the rates that I think it's not up here is kind of confusing to me is our unemployment insurance rate. I mean, it's still very, very low, and I'm kind of expecting that to go back up. It's a fraction of what it used to be. So we haven't really talked about that one too much in here because it's really been kind of a low obligation for the district for years and years. But I'm kind of waiting to see if the state adjusts our unemployment insurance rate at some point. It's a fraction of a percent, but at one point it was over 1% of payroll. So right now it's like a fraction of 1%. So.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stevens, for the report and the engaging conversation. This is an action item, so at this time, I will see if there's a motion to accept the 2020-2021 second interim report and the budget revision reflecting projected year budget totals.
So moved.
It's been moved by Dr. McKibben. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Ms. Creason. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. That was unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Stevens. With that, we are at item I4, establishing a separate middle school at Encina. Mr. Shoemake, please begin when you are ready.
Good evening, President Vasquez, board members, Superintendent Kern, and Ms. Cunningham. I'm here tonight to present the superintendent's recommendation to approve the establishment of a separate middle school from the current 612 model at Encina. This will be beginning in the 2021-2022 school year. The state of California requires board action on the creation of a new school in order to issue the required county district school code, otherwise known as a CDS code. You may recall that we most recently followed this very same process when we initially created the unschool. The county, the California Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Education, as well as other state agencies and post-secondary institutions all require schools to have CDS codes, and it really serves as the basis for tracking schools and districts in California. Upon approval this evening, the district will work with the state to identify the Encina Middle School CDS code. In addition, I have attached board policy 7310 that details how the new site will be eventually named. And specifically, I want to call out that community participation will be encouraged and heavily fostered. This is an action item, and at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions if needed.
Thank you, Mr. Shoemake. Mr. Allen, do we have any public comments on this item at this time?
We would invite anybody with us on the Zoom to raise their hand at this point if they would like to offer a comment. We have not had any comments submitted. And I see no hands raised for this item, President Vasquez.
Okay, at this time, I'll turn it to my colleagues. Do any board members have questions or comments on this item? Mr. Hernandez.
I just want to clarify, this brought a little confusion, especially in our facilities meeting, because we of course heard that presentation of what the schools were going to look like, what buildings, et cetera. And we of course agreed to get more information and take that to our community partners for their input. And at first this would look like we were going to be voting on that same thing. And clearly, as Mr. Shoemake directed, they have nothing to do with the other. We have to do this basically to to move forward. So I just wanted to make sure that although our community partners are aware that had nothing to do with how it's going to look, that this is just a formality that we had to go through. That's all.
That's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Any other comments from my colleague? Looks like there's Some concurrence with Mr. Hernandez's remarks. Appreciate the clarification there. And I will just say originally this was actually on the calendar as a consent item, but I wanted to be able to clarify some of that, particularly for our community, given the interest in the topic. So this is largely a procedural process to get the ball rolling, to make sure that we can get state funding, et cetera, and kind of it's all up in the system. There definitely more to come on the broader topic itself and movement. So appreciate your insight there from the facilities committee. And thank you, Mr. Shoemake, as well for the presentation. This is an action item. Is there a motion to approve the establishment of a separate middle school from the current 612 model at Encina beginning in the 2021-2022 school year, and to approve the process for naming the new separate middle school? It's been moved by Mr. Hernandez. Is there a second? And second by Ms. Creason. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous. We are now at item I5, notice of intent to convey easement at Del Campo High School. Mr. Camarda, thanks for joining us. Please begin when you're ready.
Good evening, and thank you, President Villasquez, members of the board, Superintendent Kern, Ms. Cunningham. Tonight's facilities item is an action item. It is the intent to convey an easement at Del Campo High School. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board adopt resolution number 3030, declaring the intent to convey a permanent easement at Del Campo High School to the County of Sacramento, and to call a public hearing to be held on April 13th, 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Camarda. Mr. Allen, do we have any public comments on this item?
Again, we would invite those who are with us on the Zoom to raise their hand at this time. We have not had any written comments submitted for this item, and I do not see any hands raised for this item, President Villasquez.
Okay, thank you. Do any of my colleagues have questions or comments? A quick survey. Seeing and hearing none. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 3030, declaring the intent to convey a permanent easement at Del Campo High School to the County of Sacramento, and to call a public hearing on April 13th?
So moved.
It's been moved by Ms. Costa. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. McKibben. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. Thank you. We are now at item I6, reducing or discontinuing particular kinds of service for TK through 12 certificated. Mr. Oropalo, please begin when you're ready.
Good evening, President Villasquez, members of the board, Superintendent Kern, Ms. Cunningham. At this time, I'm bringing forward for action Superintendent's recommendation to adopt resolution 3023, reducing or eliminating particular kinds of services and the corresponding amount of certificated staffing that will be reduced as a result. Additionally, I'm bringing forth for action the superintendent's recommendation to adopt resolution 3024 that establishes criteria to apply to a tiebreaker in seniority for certificated staff affected by program reductions within the same date of hire. And I am joined via Zoom by Deanne Carlson, the Director of Human Resources. And at this time, we can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Allen, do we have any public comments on this item?
We do not have any submitted, nor do I have any hands raised at this time.
Okay, do any of my colleagues have comments or questions on this item at this time? Dr. McKibben.
I move that we adopt 3023 and 3024.
Okay, I'll take them separate. Appreciate it. So there's a motion to adopt resolution number 3023. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Ms. Costa. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. That was unanimous. And Dr. McKibben, are you willing to also move to adopt resolution number 3024? There is it's been moved by Dr. McKibben. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Ms. Costa. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous. We are now at item I7, reducing or discontinuing particular kinds of service for adult education. Mr. Oropalo.
Thank you, President Villasquez. Again, at this time, I'm bringing forward for action the superintendent's recommendation to adopt resolution 3025, reducing or eliminating particular kinds of services and corresponding amount of adult education certificate staff as well as recommendation that we adopt Resolution 3026 that establishes criteria to apply to tiebreakers in seniority for adult education. Again, I'm joined on Zoom by Deanne Carlson, Director of Human Resources, and I can answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you to the Human Resources team for being available. Mr. Allen, do we have any public comments on this item?
We do not have any comments submitted. However, I do have a hand that has just went up.
Okay, I'll invite you to facilitate public comment.
Our first comment will come from Jennifer Harris. When you are ready, Ms. Harris.
Thank you so much. And I just was wondering if there were certain positions or certain certificated staff who are being reduced? It's a reduction of adult education staff, is that not correct?
Yes, this item does deal with adult education staff, and in the board packet, you will find the backup materials that would list the impacted positions.
Okay, I just couldn't find those when I clicked on them, but I'll look at those at a later time. Thank you so much.
Jennifer, I'd be happy to email you a link to those.
Thanks so much.
No problem. And that is our only comment, President Villescaz.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none. This is an action item. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 3025? It's been moved by Mr. Hernandez. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Creason. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 3026? It's been moved by Ms. Creason. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Dr. McKibben. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous. We are at item I8, notice of intent to reduce or discontinue certain classified services. Mr. Oropalo.
Thank you, President Villescaz. Again, I'm bringing forward for action the superintendent's recommendation to adopt resolution number 3027, reducing or eliminating certain classified positions effective June 30th, 2021, because of lack of funds and/or lack of work. I'm available to answer any questions you may have on this item as well.
Thank you, Mr. Oropalo. Mr. Allen, do we have any public comments on this item?
We do not have any comments submitted. However, I do have one hand up.
Okay.
And our comment will be from Krista Green. Ms. Green, when you are ready.
Yes, do we have any notification on what classified staff this affects?
So again, Ms. Green, that information is included in the board packet, and I'd be happy to try and get that information to you. But if you stick around at the end of the meeting, I'd be happy to get your contact information.
Cool, great, but I just don't want to be approved before we have a comment. Does that make sense?
It does. You have a minute and 26 seconds left to offer a comment. And unfortunately, we can't take the time to go over the item with you during your public comment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Ms. Green. And I did have somebody else who was popping a hand up and down, just giving them one more chance since it's down at the moment. And seeing no hand, President Villescaz. We are good.
Okay. Do any board members have questions or comments on this item? Ms. Creason.
I just want to make one quick comment because I know that sometimes these board agendas are big and complicated and there's questions. And I just want to, of course, I always encourage public comment, but sometimes, I mean, there's not a dialogue that happens. So I just want to encourage folks, if you have questions about the board agendas, reach out before the board meeting because we can have a conversation and answer your questions, but it's kind of hard to do when we're in the process of an action. So I just want to acknowledge that question. I am looking at the information in the board binder now, or board packet now. If you want to follow up, I'm sure staff or a board member would be happy to talk to you. And that's it. And I'll move the item.
Okay, it's been moved, so there's an adoption, or there's a motion to adopt resolution number 3027 by Ms. Creason. Is there a second?
Thank you.
And it's been seconded by Mr. Hernandez. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous. We are at item J, board reports. Do any of my colleagues have board reports at this time? Dr. McKibben?
Wanted to report a couple of activities, actually with students this last week. On Tuesday of last week, I did Read Across America at Cottage Montessori. And on Thursday, I did for about the 20th time at Del Paso Manor, Peace Corps Day, where I did this year on Zoom, talk to kindergartners. And I wanted to thank teacher Leslie Wilson for letting me teach one more time again this year. And I also wanted to thank and recognize the work that's been done by Dignity Health and all the volunteers at Del Campo High School. It looked like there was 100 volunteers out there. And also wanted to recognize two of the board members that volunteered there. Our chair and Mr. Hernandez were both working the vaccination booths and so forth. It was an amazing activity. And we're probably pretty close to fully vaccinated for all of those who want them as a result of this 3-week activity. And then we have the 3 weeks to get the second shot for the next day. But it was very, very impressive. And I wanted to say thank you to all those folks.
Thank you, Dr. McKibben. Any further board reports at this time? Ms. Creason and Mr. Hernandez have settled on who will go next. Ms. Creason.
I also enjoyed Read Across America. I was at Cameron Ranch with the 4th grade class, and it was fun. We read a new book about a dragon that I looked up, and because I figured out that my big kids books are a little too little, if that makes sense. I really wanted to read Fox and the Springtime Blossoms. I'm like, this isn't for 4th graders. So luckily I'm able to download books and I was able to get a fun one. But I really appreciate the invitation. It was just wonderful to be around kids. CAC met earlier, in between our last 2 board meetings. CAC met, and also as I mentioned earlier, I've been visiting PTO, PTA meetings. I know that an announcement went out to principals that was shared with parent leadership groups that I'm available to join those meetings, and I'm happy to do that. They've gone generally pretty well. People just have questions. And then there's been some really good ideas that have come out of those that I'm talking to the superintendent about. One of them that I wanted to share tonight was the idea of some kind of presentation or a video or something to just explain, how does our district work? You know, what's the role of the board? What's the role of unions? What's the role of cabinet? You know, just really, it's a very complex system, you know, so I completely understand why, you know, there's confusion of how it works, how decisions are made, where are the advocacy points. So that was one of the many suggestions that came out of that I thought were great. So I just want to remind folks that I am available to connect either in that format or in any other way. Happy to do phone calls or emails. I know I'm starting to get behind, but I am available. And I do appreciate the feedback. One thing I will ask though is threats aren't okay. And I'll leave it at that. You know, threats are absolutely unacceptable, not okay. You will never get a response. It's not how we act. That's not how we demonstrate to our children. That's how you get something. So I just want to make that really, really clear. And other than that, that's it for me. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Creason. Ms. Costa, Mr. Hernandez? I don't remember who went. Okay. Oh, we've got a mic issue.
I just wanted to say that we had a report about returning back to school, but also the report on our high school sports. And I've been able to be out and to see various high schools and see the sports out there practicing. And it is such a great sight to see these kids back training for their individual sports. And kudos to, during this pandemic, our facilities team, Mr. Ralston, his team actually redid many of these sports fields. And I don't know if you guys had a chance to see them, but they look outstanding. And so kudos to Mr. Ross and his staff. It's clearly noticeable how well some of these sports fields look. And so thank you. And it's great to see our kids out there again.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. I will offer a brief report. I also got to participate in kind of an overlap of Read Across America Week and also celebrate Women's History Month and join the Greer Panthers for a virtual reading as well, which was great. And I committed that I would be back to do a reading in person. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity at sometime soon. And then also just want to echo some of the remarks and just publicly thank our partners at Dignity Health and everything that was involved in the vaccine clinics, as well as the big lift for our team. I know that was, when folks say, hey, we have some vaccines, you drop everything and you go. And that's what the team did. And we're able to make it work. There was 2 straight weekends. First one went really smooth and successful. And then the second one, we learned and regrouped and it was even better. And so I'm looking forward to the second shot clinics coming up. And I know we've already kind of been in conversations and are kind of reaching out to partners where appropriate to really talk about, particularly with the new initiative, to make sure that the vaccines are getting into communities that have typically and historically been disproportionately served, what that looks like, and making sure that to the extent that we can be as helpful partners, we stand ready to do so to make sure that those eligible communities and zip codes are served with the assistance of the district if that's appropriate. Mr. Kern, it looks like you've got something to add.
I'll just build off of that, and I appreciate the support the board has had on that. We reached out to Dignity today, trying to find a place. They're like, if your schools are open, that's going to be harder for us to use your schools now, but we're looking at Creekside. We reached out to the Sacramento County Public Health as well, because we want to know what those zip codes are and where we can support. We haven't heard back from them yet, unfortunately. But we'll continue because it is so important. And Dignity has been the most amazing partner in this process. I mean, I think we are building a long-term partnership there. I told them they can use their facilities for our facilities for whatever they want in the future, because it really is about supporting our community. So I think just that connection, again, something positive that may have come out of this that we can build in future years, I'm looking forward to, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can do in those underserved communities.
Fantastic. And I will just say that those 2 days, I mean, it was just, you could feel the hope in the air. Like there was just nowhere else that I would have rather have been. But one kind of funny reflection I had that I'll share from my colleagues is particularly that second time around, it felt a lot like a back to school event because you just had a bunch of our staff coming through and, we had to keep the line moving because there was a lot of folks coming in, but they wanted to see where their friends were and chat and catch up because they hadn't seen each other in a long time. So I was the one keeping them moving, but it was pretty funny, but also just really heartwarming. And it was just also a special privilege to have played a really small part in supporting a clinic that actually supported getting my own teachers vaccinated, some of my teachers that are still teaching. It was really, really nice. So looking forward to more. Again, we stand ready to be as supportive as possible. And seeing no further comments for board reports, we are at item K, future agenda items. Do any board members wish to add any items to the future agenda? Seeing none, hearing none. Okay. We are at item L, visitor comments. Mr. Allen, are there any visitor comments?
We have not had any submitted, and this would be the final opportunity for those of you who are with us here on Zoom to offer a comment if you would like. Again, this would be for items that are not on tonight's agenda. So if you would like to offer a comment for something that was not on tonight's agenda, please use that raise hand button at this time. And it looks like we do have 2 hands raised right now. So I will go ahead and start on the process if that fits for us, President Villescaz.
It kicks off. I'll just take an opportunity to remind the public that comments are limited to 2 minutes and the clock on the screen will count down the time. Under the Brown Act, the board is not allowed to comment on items that are not on the agenda, so we're not ignoring your comments. We just can't respond to any individual comments. The superintendent can refer items to staff who can follow up with you. And at this time, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Allen, to facilitate our last public comment for the evening.
Thank you, President Villescaz. Our first comment will come from Darcy Schmesler.
Perfect. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
I want to start this by saying thank you twice. First, thank you to Zima for your thoughtful questions and comments. Second, thank you to whoever sets the agenda for not allowing Bill Simmons to lecture parents tonight. It would be much appreciated if the board stopped saying that there aren't any schools in Sacramento County that are open full-time. While I understand that public school districts have dropped the ball repeatedly to open up, there are plenty of private schools that have done so successfully. In fact, I'm touring one tomorrow. Second, while I understand that modifying the hybrid plan would be a heavy lift, it is not impossible. It is just heavy. The same kind of heavy lift that you have required parents and students to endure this entire year. You could easily use a portion of the $120 million you have received in COVID funding to increase staffing and space to allow our students to come back more than 5 hours per week. Third, to clarify precisely how bad this hybrid model is, pre-COVID, my 6th grade student would have received 275 minutes of instruction per class per week. During distance learning, my 6th grade student received 190 minutes of instruction per class per week. With the current hybrid model, my 6th grade student will receive 100 minutes of instruction per class per week. His teachers are at a loss as to how they are expected to teach with such little instructional time. This model is unacceptable. There are other options. You owe it to your students and families and teachers to do better. We can't yell it any louder. What you're offering isn't enough. And finally, hey, Kent, I want to bring you back to a conversation that we had in your office 2 years ago about how little space we had per student per square foot at our school. It's a little frustrating to hear you talk about the lack of space on campuses in light of that discussion. Perhaps if SJUSD hadn't allocated scarce bond dollars on vanity projects like football stadiums at high schools, we wouldn't be in a place where we don't have enough room to offer students a seat in an actual classroom at this time. You need to do better.
And thank you for your comment. Our next comment will come from Jennifer Harris. Jennifer, when you're ready.
Thank you. And Mr. Allen, I did find the agenda item the packet with all the item. No need to email me for that business item 17. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that would conclude our public comment at this time, President Villescaz.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. At this time, we do not need to return to closed session, so we are adjourned.
Thank you for joining us tonight. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the San Juan Board of Education is set for March 23rd. Public session is to start at 6:30 p.m. and we do anticipate being on Zoom and YouTube. Thank you again for joining us. We hope to see you again.